I think we are live now.
We are live, guys, around the world. Welcome to the Schtuff Election Night coverage.
Ooh,
This
the
is
night the
a,
world burns.
oh my, this is a first time for us. Most of the time, we film these things and we're able to edit out all of John's heavy profanity.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just kidding. He only knows two words. So,
Exactly.
but we are here to talk tonight with our brothers. We've got friends coming on, hang out with us. We are going to just talk about this election cycle. It's obviously been a crazy one. I live in North Carolina right now. I got to be honest. I'm very unhappy with some of my brothers and sisters in North Carolina as I'm watching the numbers come in, and I feel like I'm a big Duke fan. I'm a big Duke basketball fan. I feel like my team is down to North Carolina and is late.
Mm. Oh man. And we got on stream, we got brother Craig Sawyer from Arizona, and we got Mr. Carl Berglund from he's originally Idaho, but via New York.
Iceland.
Yeah, well, it's even worse than that, man. Idahoan transplanted to Texas, currently sitting in New York City. If you can
He is.
believe that, what has God done to me?
Oh man.
So
Well,
you're
just
going to
some
get you a flat screen tonight, then, right?
exactly get a flat
Oh
screen,
yeah,
go burn some stuff
yeah, yeah.
down.
Well, I mean, yeah. If things don't go my way, I automatically feel an urge to go grab a flat screen from some poor, unsuspecting businessman.
Exactly.
Right?
Mr. Craig, you gonna go get some Nikes while you're out there in Arizona?
Tell you what, man, I was having the best night with my beautiful wife watching Trump win this election. We were
Oh,
watching Steve Bannon's feed. I think
yeah,
that's the most intelligent, up-to-date info on the
awesome.
stats and the data. And I just spent a big portion of the day with his brother.
Yeah.
Right here. He lives just down the road. We're neighbors. And
Oh, cool.
man, they're on it, though. He's got
Steve
data
Bannon.
masters that understand the dynamics and the way they're laying out what's happening. And they were the first ones to call Florida before OAN, before Newsmax, before Fox, before anybody. And
awesome.
So he's got some cool guys that know what they're doing. That's interesting to watch. So
I'll put is it on
guys
is it
jump
on
off,
YouTube?
go hit Bannon's Facebook live feed.
Facebook Live. All right. I'm gonna pull it up so we can be watching it
Yeah, that'll be
as
good.
in stream.
Oh,
I've
that's
got
good.
all
I'm glad
here.
y'all got all them extra screens, man, because I'm stuck in a hotel room and and I'm forced to I got the television over yonder here, right? And I've got it on Fox News, so I'm tracking what they're saying. Well, I'm like you, brother. I was pretty disappointed in what's going on. I'm pretty disappointed. I'm really disappointed on what's going on in Texas right now. I mean, my gosh. I never thought it was going to be anywhere close to that close. You know, I mean, I personally, I know no one in the state of Texas that is a Biden supporter, and I know quite a few people. I flatter myself. I work all over the state, right? And I know personally, absolutely no one. Maybe it's just the fact that I work predominantly in the oil field, the energy industry, but and energy industry people typically won't support somebody who wants to tank their livelihood and destroy their job and wreck their business. But I can't imagine that out of all those people that it's going to go the wrong way. I do not understand it.
I tell you what, man, we're under such a massive campaign of ideological subversion that people don't know what's going on. The American people genuinely do not know. They watch CNN, they watch MSNBC or NBC, and they believe that the orange man is bad. They do not know that we've had the best economy in the history of our country and the best job stats and empowerment for the minorities and the females that those people claim to care most about. They don't know. They genuinely do not know. I talk to people all the time. They're like, what are you talking about? They're literally not told the factual statistics of where our country's been brought to. And I pointed out to say we cannot sustain this level of deceit. We cannot have our people snowed this severely from a so-called news media that literally is working for our nation's most hostile enemies. We can't sustain this. Something's got to be done on the quick, and I suspect there's going to be something done about it after the big win. So these are precarious times. Whichever way the needle falls is going to determine the direction this country goes. It goes towards global Marxism, which you know they'll paint it as democratic socialism at first,
utopia,
and then comes the big gut punch. It's really communism, and then after a few years, oh yeah, by the way, it's really the worst kind of communism. It's Marxism. Sorry, we lied.
Yeah,
I've got a question for you,
You know,
brother.
and it's upsetting for me as a warrior to fight for my country and see the people that I love and defended so snowed and not read past the headlines and genuinely not understand what's happening around them. They are voting for Joe Biden. If you ask them, well, why do you think he and Obama sent $150 billion to the Iranians? They're like,
on pallets.
That really happened?
On pallets.
Like, folks, on aircraft pallets in the dark of night on the sly. And we should be killing terrorists, not sending them, extravagant
billions
wealth.
of dollars.
Aircraft, cargo planes full of cash. But they genuinely do not understand. They don't know that it's happening. That's upsetting.
Yeah. Mr. Carl, what you got?
So I got a question for you, brother, with regard to your acquaintances that made these statements about the economy. Do you know anybody that actually filed a tax return in 2017? Because if you filed a tax return in 2017, you realize real quick that you did not get a fine for not having insurance in 2017, right? And Trump did that. Okay, so that actually saved me $2,000. Plus, I got a net increase in my annual income just because he got elected and instituted his policies right out the gate, of about $6,000, right? So there's $6,000 plus my $2,000 fine I didn't have to pay. So there's $8,000 I made just because he got elected. Don't you know anybody like that?
Well, we haven't had the conversation quite that way. And I would expect that these people, probably most of them, they're paying a third party firm to do their taxes, and they get back whatever they get, but what they're bombarded with 24/7 is orange man bad. You want to vote for our commie over here, who's for the little guy. And that's literally, it seems to be where their heads are at. I'm not afraid of much, but I'm afraid of that level of deceit and naivety, because that's dangerous.
I got two questions. One for Mr. Carl, one for Mr. Craig here. First for Mr. Carl, because you work in the oil industry and because this is how you feed your family, what is, let's say everything happens and Biden wins. What is your projection? What is your fear? What is your idea? What's going to happen within the next year of Biden winning?
All right. So first of all, I'm fearless.
All
right. I'm not afraid of anything. Right? Jesus of Nazareth is king of everything, and he's also taking care of me. Right. So, and he's never failed to do that ever since he grabbed a hold to me. I'm not worried about it. Beyond that, the only challenge that I would face is having to completely reorient myself, and transfer my skills to an industry that doesn't pay nearly as well, right? And one in which, I've spent most of my adult life in the energy industry, right? And then, so there's a certain amount of re-education that you have to have, and mostly just in learning the language, right? Understanding the business models, right? Understanding the business flow. And the fact of the matter is that I'm going to be 59 next month, right? I'm not going to be 29. And so there's also that. So not very many people are interested in hiring a 59-year-old that is brand new to any industry.
Not a lot of lateral movement there.
That's exactly right. So there's a number of those challenges. I mean, if that were to happen to me, and so I'm not interested in, I wouldn't volunteer to jump into that eventuality. Well, let me just say it like that. If it happens, it happens, and I'm going to do what I do, and everything will be all right, because God is going to take care of me, and I'm a fairly intelligent white boy. Can I say that on TV?
I mean, we on the internet. You say whatever you want to say.
Merely an adjective.
So that's Mr. Carl's answer there for again, Jesus is King. Now, Mr. Craig, so you talked about a little, you hit on a little bit of the idea of there's a tipping point happening tonight, right? And at what tipping point, what point does the right become so infuriated that are so motivated that we say, all right, we've had enough of this, and actually begin to I don't want to say not saying right inciting violence, but when we take more than just we're going to vote people in who we like, when's it going to be like, all right, we're taking this country back in whatever way that looks like? What do you think that tipping point would be if it came down to that? Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I believe that point is we passed that point several hours ago. That opportunity is pretty much gone. So we've either stepped up and done it, or we haven't. Now, if we haven't done it, what I believe we're going to see is a level of tyranny that's going to knock Americans back on their heels. They're not going to have any concept of how hostile this regime, this cabal actually has been, because they are not aware of the factual information, the chain of events as they've played out. They don't know what Agenda 21 proposes or Agenda 2030. They don't know the level of tyranny that the radical left, that the globalists have been planning and pushing upon us. They don't know whenever California passes a law or a piece of legislation that softens penalties on child sex predators. They don't know why that's happened. For them, it came out of the clear blue sky. It was a complete surprise. Right. And for guys like us that have inside feelers, we understand their playbook and we know exactly what to expect. Like, of course they've submitted that, and they're going to submit worse in the future, and it's going to get worse and worse every time. So we needed really to step up and make sure that we drove it down their throat this time, because there's such a level of corruption, and they do have the ability to change votes. They have an intelligence software that's I won't go into, but it allows them to change the votes. The good thing is we can monitor and determine when they've used it to try to flip votes for
you mentioned
presidential election. So there's nothing that they won't stoop to. There's no low that this cabal, as President Trump calls them, there's no low that they won't stoop to now out of desperation, because a lot of them belong in prison. They literally belong at the end of a manila rope at Gitmo, assuming that the factual evidence demonstrates their treason, for which hanging is an appropriate punishment. So
let me just say something, brother.
If we
look here, what you really need to do is let it out, because all this holding back stuff like that is bad for your blood pressure. Right? What you need to do is just tell us how you really feel about all this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Please welcome
I've got
Smiley to the show.
What's
I'm
up,
responsible
everybody?
for a lot of things, so I do have to be a little bit careful on how I express things, and I want to express it the right way too. But I think because of the level that they will stoop to, their level of desperation and the level of corruption they've already demonstrated, and their willingness to cheat on election fraud and voter fraud, then if we do not win, if Team America does not win this election, I believe that there will be no time in the future ever that we would be able to put up another viable candidate to run against them. I think they'd cook the books any chance they get. And this is the only chance that we've got. This was our last chance. I do believe we're prevailing. I think it's happening. We're going to win. But had we lost, I think it would have been checkmate, and there would have been no chance to ever compete against them again, because it's already such gridlock with the corruption, and they've already got such a monopoly on all the key federal agencies. And that's another thing I want to talk about here later. I don't want to hog the mic right now, but we need to purge our key agencies of the corruption. And I know exactly how to do it.
Awesome.
A couple of things that you hit on. One, you talked about basically the gridlock. You think about the last 3.5 years or so. Absolutely nothing has happened in DC, basically, except the Democrats trying to get Trump out of office and the Republicans trying to, fight that. We've lost 3.5 years. And another thing, when I taught history, I used to tell my students often that what the glue that held a civilized society together was restraint. And I feel like, if I'm hearing you, almost what you're saying is, in a sense, the other side used our own restraint against us. They knew we would remain restrained, and when rioting was happening, all the businesses were being burned and looted, we stayed home, and they, in a sense, used that against us to continue to push their agenda.
Yeah, it's all in the Communist Manifesto. If you go back all the way down to Karl Marx, he was a Luciferian, so he's not on our side. There's nothing American about his outlook, his communist Marxist outlook, and that's really where their playlist came from. They're pushy, they're aggressive, they're violent, they're bullies, but they'll also cry about everything and play the victim. So I call them the cry bullies. But they've shouted us down. They've conditioned us very systematically. They've very deliberately used their trillions that they move around the globe to buy up academia, mainstream news media, big Hollywood, pop culture. They've done it. They're all the way from the universities now, all the way down to kindergarten. They're looking at conditioning 5-year-old kindergartners on sexual perversions that children, 12 or 15 barely learn about. And it's just conditioning them, perverting their little minds, and what's the word I'm looking for? Defiling them and perverting them and poisoning their little minds, because those thoughts, once planted in a child's mind, don't leave. And it's evil what they're doing. And they're conditioning us to be so tolerant. Everything's about tolerance. We've been bullied into being tolerant of literally everything that will kill us, everything that will destroy our children, everything that will take our freedoms and liberties. And we've allowed ourselves to be cry bullied into tolerance, including political correctness. And they've literally just taken almost everything from us. I hope this is a wake-up call, but I still think most Americans are sleepwalking.
So speaking of bullies, so sorry, Ms. Carl. So speaking of bullies, I want to introduce Mr. Bob Smiley down there.
What kind of introduction is that? What is it? Oh, because I've been working out? Is that what you're talking about?
That big jaw too.
Exactly.
The big jaw. He's coming at us.
Exactly. So everybody,
you didn't tell me there's going to be any bullying.
Exactly, Mr. Bob is
a safe zone.
Exactly, Bob is a bully. We just want to introduce all y'all. Actually, we have introduced everybody. So, Mr. Craig Sawyer, this is Mr. Bob Smiley. Mr. Bob Smiley, this is Mr. Carl Berglund. Bob is a comedian, an extremely funny guy, and he's going to jump in from time to time while we're on the stream tonight and just give us some bullying relief. I guess he's going to come in and start slapping people around and give us an update from the fridge.
Did I miss an email? Did I miss a script or something? First of all, you guys just said, hey, pop in if you can. I pop in. I'm looking at Craig. I'm glad that there's somebody else that has the same biceps as me. Two, I did tell you guys I were busy because we're having to move all our furniture because we're getting new carpet tomorrow.
Oh man.
my kids and I will not be able to play our favorite game, Guess the Stain, anymore.
Oh man.
So we're gonna
You need a black light for that, homie.
yeah. So we've got we're gonna be busy tonight. Plus, I'm trying to keep up with the election, but you guys know my neighbor's Wi-Fi is not good. But I did log in about 6 o'clock, and I got all excited because CNN actually called it for Trump. And I was like, no way. And then I found out that they were talking about 2016. They're just now finally calling it.
Exactly.
For them.
He is the president.
Yeah. And this is no joke. We don't have cable. We don't have so I'm having to watch the election on Peacock TV, which I guess is NBC. And a news reporter, it's so biased. A news reporter actually said, except for Hispanics, blacks, and older voters, Biden is doing really well in Florida.
So the Gators are voting for Biden. That's pretty much it.
He really said that with a straight face, except for Hispanics, blacks, and older voters. I was like, I've got to find this guy and have him write my next comedy special, because that was gold.
Projection.
I could not. Oh my
They're
goodness.
fixated on race.
Yeah, it was so good. But yeah, that's but we're gonna be. I'll try to pop in again later, but we are getting new carpet in tomorrow, so we're having to move stuff. And at the bottom line, I mean, I don't know what you guys were talking about. It sounds like you guys were talking about some serious stuff, but no matter who wins the presidency, I know people that are going to get up and they're going to go to work. I'm going to get up and not go to work because I'm out of work. We're going to do the same things that we did. I remember in elementary school, we were Davy Crockett Elementary School, and we didn't have a mascot. And it was the first political thing I ever got into. And we were going to vote on being the Crickets or the Crocodiles. So we could have been the Crockett Crocodiles, which were ferocious with teeth and all this stuff, or we could be the Crickets. And it was the first time I got into politics, and I campaigned for the Crocodiles. I got all the guys behind me. I was like, man, we want a tough elementary school, because this is starting our reputation as we go through there. And all the girls voted for the Crickets, and the guys didn't even vote. So it was my first kind of like, oh, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of stuff going on. Until they actually count those votes for 4 years. Okay, I'm going to be truthful. For 5 years, 2 of them fourth grade, I was a Crockett Cricket. I was like, we were showing up at like track meets going, yeah, you can't beat us unless you have a really big shoe. Like, it's the lamest of the mascots. But it taught me that no matter what happens, life still goes on. And, you just have to do what you can do. And, that's in front of you. And just try to make the world a better place, on your own terms.
It seems like the Volunteers would have been an obvious choice for a mascot at that school, but maybe that's just me.
The David Crockett Volunteers?
Yeah, or the Frontiersmen, or the Riflemen, or
not the Riflemen. No, we can't have that.
Well,
that's the Columbine. That's the Columbine mascot.
We could have done that. We could have done the Riflemen.
You went there. You went there.
Too soon.
It's been like 27 years. It's fine. All right. They can get over it.
All right.
I've still got thank you cards for you.
Yeah, we're making Columbine jokes, so this is where I'm going to leave to protect my career.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Well, man, jump back. Thanks for coming on, Miss Bob. Jump back on with us when you get a chance, and let us know what's going on there at the
and what stains you found.
Exactly. What stains you found? That'd be great to know.
Okay, we'll do. All right, we'll see you guys. Bye.
All right, look, guys, Bully Bob's tough too. You can even take a punch. Like, boom. Look, nothing.
He's gone. You knocked him out. You knocked him over.
Man.
Mama said knock you out.
Maybe I leaned into that a little too much.
So I got some bad news in real time, guys.
What we got?
So just got the TV up here in the background, and they just called that the Democrats keep the House.
Oh man.
So the rest of it's up for grabs. So here's the thing. Now, back to what I want to touch on something that you mentioned earlier, Craig. So I called a liberal friend of mine 2 days ago.
You can have those.
I got a couple. I got a couple of them. And I try to do this right. I try not to stay in my own bubble, because if I stayed in my own bubble, well, I mean, imagine what that would look like.
I mean, it's a bubble. It's fun.
Anyway, I called him and I told him, right, I said, we got got 72 hours before this election's over, son. And I said, regardless of how it goes, we have a lot of work to do. Okay. I said, so, and, the fact of the matter is that whether or not Trump wins the White House this evening or Biden wins the White House this evening, there's a heck of a lot of work to do. Now from my perspective, if Trump wins the White House, then we have 4 more years of relatively unimpeded advantage of doing our job to clean up the mess and drag the truck back from the cliff that we've been letting it run off for the last 60 years. Right. And this is in terms of our children's education, in our adults' education, in re-educating our millennials and our Gen Zs, right? Because they do not even understand what a constitutional republic is supposed to be, right? Nor, and you cannot go to the average American, and I challenge you to challenge any of you to grab 20 people together that you're not intimately familiar with, right? Drag them off the street and ask them, what system of government do we have, right? And then explain to them that this particular system of government on this particular continent, under this particular constitution, was founded on the principles of the gospel of Jesus Christ. They will not believe you. And that is we're talking about, this is just a fact, all right? And they will not believe you.
What you got, Mr. Craig?
Yeah, man. Yeah, they've been in that educational system. They've been conditioned to believe otherwise. Yeah, it's again, it's unsustainable. And I agree, Carl. We've got to run the ball way back upfield. I mean, way upfield. We've treated it. We've been so meek and mild on the conservative right and American Christians and patriots and families. So we've just taken this cry-bullying and we've allowed it, and they encroach, inch after inch, mile after mile, and it seems like our rhino Republicans anymore feel like, well, we only, the Democrats wanted to take 10 miles today and we only gave them 4. Yeah. It's like, dude, you lost. Yeah. Why don't you ram it about 1,000 miles back in the direction they came from, and take back the freedoms and liberties that they've been chewing away at, and show them who's boss, and actually stand up and carry out the agenda that the people that elected you put you in that seat to do, and serve the people in good faith on the ticket that you ran on. How about you do that? And until we get to that and actually fix our DOJ and start prosecuting thousands of these deep state traitors, nobody's going to have any
well, we're not going to do that, Craig.
Any confidence in the system. They're not going to have any belief or legitimacy in our legal system. And right now, it's so clearly a 2-tiered system. There's them and us, and it's a one-way street. And we've got to fix that. There's got to be a major correction. We've got to start prosecuting en masse.
Now we're not going to get that done until we can stand in the middle of the field on the 50-yard line and say that Jesus of Nazareth is King of the universe, and he's King of America too, whether you believe it or not. Right. So the reason that we're here is because Christian men in the pulpit, in the street, and in the marketplace have refused to do that. Right. Because we have engaged in this go along, get along mentality. Right.
Doesn't work.
We've decided that we were going to, let's coexist, and we can have this syncretic society, right? This pluralistic society that everything is equal, everything's not equal. Right. There is one king, there is one law. And, and I'm not, just to be very clear, I'm not advocating for a theocracy. What I'm telling you is that there is a theocracy and there is one king. All right. Now, I'm not trying to get Calvinistic Protestantism established as the religion of America. But what I'm telling you is that if we don't obey the king's law and we don't conduct ourselves and insist that our society conduct itself by the king's law, we're going to have what we got. This is how we got here. The republic that we were given, that we were bequeathed to, we were bequeathed by our founders, was based on those principles. And they understood that. And even though they debated it loud and long, right?
Mhm.
They didn't have a problem acknowledging that God was sovereign over themselves and over the republic. They didn't have a problem with that. They didn't want to institute a state church, but when we stopped saying that, we stopped acknowledging that there was a standard of justice.
Well,
We
there's so many
abandoned the
things
standard.
that you're saying here, man, that like just a few things that, and I'm going to come back to it later in my wrap up later tonight. But, and I shared this with John earlier, and I know this is no secret to you guys, but what you have is at its root, two very simple differences. And really, I feel like a lot of it can be broken down to this simple thought. You have on one side a group that believes that our rights, our freedoms are given to us by the all-powerful, omniscient, preeminent creator of the universe. On the other side, you have a group that believes you have as much rights and freedoms and privileges as the government allows you to have. And you know those two schools of thought are kind of the prevailing. And you were speaking to this earlier. You know, I mean, I've heard people say, you know, like even even when people were kind of pushing Joe Biden on whether or not he wanted to pack the court, he refused to answer. You know, it's like the general public doesn't really deserve to know that. Yeah, we do. But what's happened is, in a sense, it's like an abusive relationship. Every time we push,
Stockholm syndrome.
They gaslight you. And I worked in the public schools for 3 years, and it was all I could take, if I'm real honest. I loved my kids, but the system, it was unreal. Every time in my first 2 years, I was with a very godly Christian principal. In my last year, not so much. And when you pushed, you got gaslighted. And when that's the way the far left works, and we've fallen for it. And you know, Brother Carl, you talked about this. You know, our forefathers, the line that's taught typically in schools, in public schools, is they were deist. They write very odd for deist. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm all about original sources, and I go read what they wrote, and it don't read like deist.
No, so yeah, when you get, for instance, Benjamin Franklin's address when they're debating, right, the ratification of the Constitution, they're debating the Constitution, for goodness sake. And he stood up and said, "I've lived, sir, a long time, and the longer I live, the more convinced I am of this truth, right? That the Almighty superintends in the affairs of men." Right?
That's not deist speech.
And he's the one that the leftists hold up as the preeminent deist, right? He's saying that the Almighty superintends in the affairs of men.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes on to quote scripture, right? And says, "We're assured that a sparrow can't fall without his notice. And if a sparrow can't fall without his notice, how can an empire rise without his aid?" Right. So then he asked for prayers for the rest of the debate so that they could get this work done, because they were fighting, right, and beating each other up with canes and stuff. So, I mean, so if a deist is good, if that's what a deist looks like, I mean, I'll submit to you that in today's world, that looks like an Orthodox Christian.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna press back on Craig here a second. So you said earlier,
now you're the bully.
Yeah, I'm like, I gotta take Bob's spot. The one thing that you said earlier, like, okay, the time
tag team.
Exactly. We like Coco Beware and Kamala just tapping in there. We go. Yeah, he's actually old school. Anyway, so you said that like the time for like our voting stuff in and those kind of things, if this goes is almost gone, right? There's no other chance probably that in the foreseeable future that we're going to have to get this back. So at what point, what's the tipping point? What's going to have to happen for the American people, the American right, to stand up and take it possibly by force, and then having a civil war happen? What's the probability in your mind of an actual civil war breaking out in the next year or two if this doesn't go the way that we think
it's an awfully short time period?
Yeah,
Well,
and what is that tipping point? What's going to be what do you think is going to be the catalyst?
we already know the cabal wants civil unrest. Look, there's a reason why the Democrat-run cities that are in Democrat-run states are the ones boarding up their businesses that say they're spray painting, we support BLM on their, they're not. Of course, CNN's telling you, it's white supremacist groups that they're afraid of. And we're like, when's the last time we saw a white supremacist group anywhere? They're not saying, don't burn us, we support KKK.
Yeah.
That's not what they're writing on there, right?
Yeah.
Well, I condemn the KKK, denounce them. But it's, we support BLM, we support Antifa. So we know those are the Soros-funded subversive organizations that riot and loot and commit arson and all that sort of thing, and they're put up to it. They are our chief planners and financiers, putting them up to it. And we already know their playbook. We've already seen things leaked through different emails and video captures of their meetings of what they're planning to do. So why there have not been raids yet, and these people Roger Stone style drug and perp walked, it is a matter of great disappointment to me. And so I would say that the chances are 100% that they're going to try to escalate and cause a civil war. Now, I think they don't have any concept of what they're getting into. I think at some point, we got 60 something million well-armed American patriots, and a lot of them veterans,
and that's just the registered gun owners.
Yeah. What could one Spec Ops veteran with a few thousand rounds do? They just cut down hundreds and hundreds of people in one city block. I mean, just leave massive piles of bloody bodies, but they're just lunatics, right? They're the dregs of society that these groups have rounded up from loony bins and homeless people, and they keep them in tent cities near these big cities, and they feed them and they keep them right there so they can go in, downtown, loot, murder and rape and commit arson and go back to their tent cities that they're close by. And we know what they want to do. So it's just a matter of what are we going to do? When are we going to start actually raiding the key planners and the financiers of this? When's George Soros's compound house going to get raided? When's his family going to get perp walked for being a part of this? And so until we develop the national will to do that, there'll be some violence and petty mayhem and destruction, but it's all going to be pointless. And it's all, though it's to their benefit, because they're after destabilization, right? Demoralize and destabilize the United States so that one day we're so desperate and broke, we're like, bring us your communism solution. We're ready now. And that's what they're banking on. They just don't, they've underestimated our resolve and the fact that we'll stomp it down their throats for a lot more years to come. So I think we've got to start prosecuting. And if we don't, they'll develop a complete gridlock. We won't be able to get out of it. And if they declare their guy wins and we say, okay, I think the only way out of that would be to literally just shoot our way out of it. And if they've used this software to cook the books and flip certain states blue when Trump had really won it on the red, and we know that they've done that, and we don't call them on it and hold firm, then they get the keys to the kingdom. And if they get the keys to the kingdom, they're just going to run their cabal and run gridlock over everything. There will never be a legitimate election again. So the only recourse then is if, number one, our military and law enforcement have any sort of contingency counter coup plan to do mass raids on these key players. And
I don't think,
turn it around. There'd be one thing, and if they don't, then it's on to the American patriots and citizens to do it, and that would just be messy. So let's hope it doesn't go that way.
So I really don't think that. Honestly, I think we've come way past the point where you can claim that there's any legitimacy to any branch of the federal government, right? I mean, if you break it down by any metric that you claim legitimacy from a constitutional perspective, the legislature has delegitimized themselves, right? The executive has delegitimized itself, And the court has certainly delegitimized itself, right, on multiple occasions, right? So, and I go back to this mantra that I throw out there consistently: the founding documents, right, the Declaration of Independence, the United States Constitution, the constitutions of the several states, the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist Papers, they were all written in 8th grade level English. They don't require JD in law to interpret them, right? An 8th grader can read them and understand what they say, if you understand what the meaning of is, right? Okay, I mean, if we can
realize the problem, I've seen the reading scores.
Yeah, so
like there's some kind of dumb people out there.
I'm telling you, son. So the couple of things. First of all, nobody gets sold a bill of goods like we've allowed ourselves to be sold unless they're ridden with guilt. All right. Okay. So a righteous man and an honest man will not buy a load of nonsense. He will not do it. Right. A righteous man who knows how to love his wife, take care of his children, and conduct fair trade will not stand on the corner of the street and say, yeah, that's a beautiful robe the emperor has, when in fact the emperor is naked. He won't do it. Only a guilt-ridden people will do that. So that's our number one problem. Okay. So what we have is we have an entire society full of guilt-ridden people who are willing to bow their head, go along with the lie, right?
And a lot of psychology there.
And serve the lie. Well, I don't need psychology. This is just straight. Right.
No, I mean, in the ideological subversion campaign, there's a reason they call us racist 24/7. That's what they're driving at. They want and need that level of compliance, and they're artificially manufacturing that level of guilt.
I'd like to know how many of them say a Mexican family from a cartel.
If you're confident in yourself, if you're confident in yourself, which means you have to be confident in Christ, then they can't sell you that because you know better, right? So that's our first problem. So then the next thing is, and I'll just go over to the civic side as a matter of pragmatic operational endeavors. Who in the world really thinks that a society of 380 million people is best governed by a city, by 500 people in a city on the East Coast, in a building? Okay, so that's stupid on its face, right? 380 million people cannot be well governed by 500 people in a city on the East Coast. That's dumb, right?
Which is basically like another planet.
Exactly.
I mean, so, DC is like a whole nother country.
Right. And they don't exist in the main to serve the interests of the citizens of the republic, which is what they're supposed to do. So, we go back to basic founding principles. The best government is small and local, right? That government that governs best governs least, right? And a standing army is extremely inimical to the interests of a free people. All right. Now, there's a whole lot of things that are encapsulated in that, and there's a bunch of stuff that has to be shaken out. But those are very good basic principles to look at, right? There is no way in God's creation that this is a sustainable thing. You cannot have 380 million people governed by 500 people on a city on the East Coast, the West Coast, the North Coast, or the South Coast. That is not sustainable, right? Because what will happen?
So, in the new order, they're going to divide us into districts.
Well, what we have to do is divide our own selves into districts, son. It's time for a divorce.
See, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, what is at what point is that going to happen? Like, because I like Anthony said earlier, I think because we want to be righteous and we want to follow the rules, has that pushed us so far? Like Craig was saying, they've taken so many things because we've been complacent, and we've been like, oh, okay, well, we don't want to rock the boat, or we don't want to do this. We want to actually follow the rules. At what point do we say, all right, all bets are off. We done with this crap. We taking this back, and we just do it. Like, what would be that tipping point to then? I'm not advocating that we should do this. I'm just saying is that, like, at what point does that happen? And at what point? Go ahead, Mr.
Everybody's got an answer. I got one too. So y'all
Here we
go.
go. All right, so we'll go Craig first, then we'll come back around.
Okay, this didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to get fixed overnight. So it's going to be a systematic series of corrections and correction process. I think number one, we have to start prosecuting all these fools and making examples of them. We have to make that the factual evidence of their treason and sedition known to the American populace, and it has to be a systematic public broadcasting. We've got to recategorize our mainstream news media as tabloid, and we have to have a new group that can be actually accurate, and that be our news. So the current ones that call themselves news, that they're functioning as tabloid, recategorize them through the FCC as what they are, which is tabloid, and then have like Newsmax and OAN, if their accuracy is warrants it, be the actual news outlets until anyone else can qualify to match that level of accuracy, and only then can they be qualified as news. We've go after academia. We've got to chase the socialist ideology out of our universities and out of our entire academic system. And we've got to challenge the big Hollywood. All the 6 studios are pumping out nothing but poison, anti-American films. I mean, just poisoning our society. So we can't allow them to have absolute monopoly over all of the microphones and programming our people to turn on our own freedoms and liberties and sustain it. So I think we've got to, number one, prosecute, but number 2, educate. The president can get on TV just about as much as he wants. And I think just about each night he should give us an update and get off. And there should be somebody that's a very good quality person, attractive, well-spoken, articulate, intelligent, giving a debrief, a factual debrief of what's happened. Just say, okay, here's an example of Hillary Clinton. Here's what we found with uranium-1. And how she was literally selling uranium to the Russians through Canada. Here's how it works. Here's what she was doing with the Clinton Foundation. Here's what she was doing. Here's what happened in Benghazi. A quick 5-minute dump and then shut up. Bite-sized bits every night so the American people go, oh my God, we had no earthly clue what those people were doing against us. And just feed them, and let them know, hey, this is mandatory study in our schools now. KGB agent or defective KGB defector Yuri Bezmenov and his lectures on ideological subversion, G. Edward Griffin's lectures on it. Have the people that understand our enemy's playbook, have them educate not only the children but our elderly populace as well. Like, hey, here's the subversion that we've been under. Here's the psychological manipulation. Here's why they're screaming us down and calling us racist, calling us misogynist, all the other ist names. There's a very specific psychological reason, and it's scarily effective. Now you got a bunch of zombies that are all beat down. They're not Carl and sure of what they believe spiritually and willing to make a stand. They're like, they're beat into submission and want to go with the flow, and so they're giving up the entire battleground to the enemy. So I think it's got to be a series of those things, but the education's key, man, so that the people quit voting away our freedoms and liberties for the lie of free stuff. They have to understand the history of communism. Over 100 or maybe 120 million murders, government sponsored genocide. They don't know about it right now, and they need to know. And you walk through the killing fields there with me, John. We got to see some of it, and that's not only place that I'd seen evidence of that around the world. 60 countries I've been to, and man, the American populace need to know these things. So that's my blurb.
What you got, Anthony?
I'd like to jump in next because his is kind of a segue. I want to go back to this thing. I want to have several things. I want to answer your question, and I want to hit race for just a minute. Okay. There's a I'm gonna talk about some of this stuff later on.
Anthony. You racist, man.
Well, here's the thing. All right,
Talking about race, you racist.
I would challenge you right now to find anybody. You could jump on Facebook. In fact, if you're out there listening live and you can legitimately call me a racist, you please do, because I've had the experience, the pleasure through the years to work with kids from every background, every ethnicity. We went last year. My daughter, she's a chick on the right, 18-year-old. She wanted me to take her to see Laura Trump was speaking at NC State. And we took her over there. And while we were waiting in line, a group of about 400 or so people came in, began chanting at us and calling us racist. And I thought, that's interesting, because my entire life I've dedicated to teaching and mentoring young Black men, young Black women, young Latino men, young Latino. Carl and I have had this conversation about our close relationship with the Latino and Hispanic community. That narrative has to change. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later on as we wrap up. We have allowed ourselves to be browbeaten with things that happened that we weren't there for. Now, full disclosure, I know my family history, but no one hauls out little Japanese kids and makes them apologize for the rape of Nanking. It does not happen. It's exclusively become a thing that is directed towards Anglo peoples. If you get right down to it, and when I taught history in the public school, I taught what I called honest history. I want to go on record, slavery in any form is evil. That's why I partner closely with John in SWAT. Before I got too hot sitting in my office, I was wearing my SWAT sweatshirt. We are against that in every form.
Well, speaking of which, we got to get Craig and Mr. Carl some SWAT swag.
We do. We got
to have some SWAT swag.
I'm telling you, I'm lacking. I need some hoodies,
but,
I need a ball cap, I need t-shirts, man, coffee cup.
Exactly.
But Europeans did not bring slavery to Africa. They did not bring slavery to Africa.
Everybody knows
when
that.
They got there, it was already happening. I think people don't realize it. When I shared that with my students, they never heard it before. All they did, the Portuguese came and the Portuguese, you know what? Like, nobody ever looks at the Portuguese with a reckless eyeball, right? They started a lot of this junk. They brought guns to Japan, right? They come to Africa and they set up this little trading post, and the local chieftains they see the guns, like, that's pretty cool. How do I get me some of them? And they're like, oh, well, a few slaves, and so that whole trade starts, and then eventually the Portuguese were like, gonna cut out the middleman. We all know that was evil and that was bad, but what we've got to understand is, at some point in a marriage, I mean, think about your relationship with your wife. If you constantly go back to the past, your past hurts with each other, is your relationship going to flourish and be healthy going forward? The obvious answer, exactly. It's not. It was bad. It was evil. The killing of native peoples was evil. But let me tell you something. They were pretty good at killing each other before we got here. We just brought them better means to do it with. So we got to take an honest look at these things. Now, to answer your question, what is the tipping point? 1A, 2A. That's your tipping point. That I feel like that's your tipping point. And what not terrifies me, but you know what I mean? But like, I studied and taught the first American Civil War for a living, and the exponentiality of a second one, astronomical. Cannot go there. Can't happen.
No, well, and I agree. And this is one of the reasons that I consistently argue and make the case for an amicable separation. Okay. And do not.
Well, you're from Texas, right? You guys can just
do not curse me that way.
He lives in Texas. He's not. See, Craig is from Texas.
Craig, that ain't a cursing. Being called Texan is not a cursing.
Where you from?
Got good Texas? Brisket.
Honor. What's that?
Where you from in Texas?
Just north of Houston, but my 4 great grandpappy was second governor at Texas there. So we got deep roots.
Congratulations. So the thing is that you got to understand that
Dang.
that going back to my point earlier, that the way that we're doing this now is so far afield from the way that it was designed, right? We were originally designed to be a federation of independent sovereign states, independent sovereign republics. And now Mr. Lincoln's War changed that and basically changed us from independent sovereign republics into provinces of Washington, D.C. And everybody's gone along with that principle, right? At least somewhere subconsciously ever since. Now you can, people still say the sovereign state of Mississippi, the sovereign state of Virginia, but they don't really mean it.
Yeah. Because
they don't understand what it means.
We went from the United States are to the United States is.
Right. So, and what's necessary if we're going to circumvent this very nasty thing that really is coming, because all empires fall. They all fall. They all come apart. There's never been an empire that was ever constructed by man that has not crumbled. And this one will too. And as soon as you go from a republic to an empire, you have put the fertilizer on the seeds of your own destruction, right? That is what you've done. And so it remains for thinking men and wise men to make decisions to see whether we cannot roll this back. And if we cannot reasonably return to a system of federated republics, that we get some kind of complete divorce. I mean, and what does it look like? I don't know what it looks like. I have no idea what it looks like, because we have several demographics. Does it break up into 7 different republics? Does it break up into 50? I don't think it breaks up into 50. I don't think we're smart enough to do that. But can we break up into 7? Can we break up into 10? Right? Well, we see.
Hold off China if we did.
Yeah, well, and so so those are the things that scare people, right, Craig? Those are the things that scare people, and that is a concern that's worthy of merit. But I would argue that's not nearly as frightening or nearly as worthy of consideration as whether or not we're insisting on governing ourselves freely. Because what's worse? Having a tyrant, 500 tyrants in Washington, D.C., right? That tyrannize and
where's my tomahawk
and take all of my stuff, right? At my own will, right? Because I voted for them, or having somebody come over and conquer me and do the same thing. If they're doing the same thing to me, I'd rather be conquered, right? At least I've got an excuse.
Yeah.
I don't want to vote myself into that.
Yeah. And right. I think that's
Can I update you guys on one thing real quick? I apologize, John. I got my TV right here.
Yeah, go ahead. That's what I was going to say.
I live outside of Raleigh, North Carolina, and they just showed on the news a minute ago that the protesters have already gathered and are marching in downtown. It's very organic. Raleigh. They all knew to wear black and hoodies and cover their faces, but it's mostly organic and not organized.
So, and something, I was looking at the Telegraph right now. This is something, the first one I pulled up. So far, we got 131 electoral whatever votes for Biden so far, and 92 for Trump. Texas is still out, Arizona, everything's still out. But so what? Like just on a prediction, like go ahead. What do you think, Craig? Like, what's it gonna come down to? Like, what's the states you're gonna come down? Like, everybody's talking about Texas and all these things. What's the states that you're gonna come down to? Is going to be the deciding factor in this, Craig?
I don't know. I want to go jump on and watch.
Exactly.
I'll watch Bannon's statisticians, man.
I need to pull that up. I need to pull it up. And this is like tonight is just jump in and jump out. You don't have to say. I mean, we've been here a while. So if you need to roll out, Miss Craig, don't.
Yeah, no, it's been good. I appreciate being invited and have a good chat, man. So Bunch of good guys, man. I've enjoyed it. So you guys, God bless.
You too.
Let's pull through this thing. I think we're going to win it tonight, but it'll be interesting to watch.
If something happens and you get like a quick information, either shoot it to us or jump back on the feed. You got the link, just jump back in the feed and we'll pull you on, and you can rant with us a little bit, and then we'll go back out.
All right. Hey, God bless you guys.
God bless you, Craig. Thanks so much.
Appreciate your service, man.
All right, brother.
Hey guys, I got somebody on here. My son actually is trying to jump on the feed. Well, he's trying to view the feed on YouTube, and he says it's not playing live.
It's not playing live. Let me pull. I'm updating live on the. I got the feed going right now, and we got. It's running live. I'll send. Well, which son? Kane or
It's Eston.
Eston. Let me. I think I'm friends with Eston on Facebook. I'll send him the direct link.
Okay.
Let me see here. Let me pull it up. Copy.
We have Clinton Harris trying to get in when you have a moment, Mr. John.
All right. Yeah, I've been talking to Clinton there a second. Let me see here. We also got Scotland is live. There's a guy named Ringo Cat is his tag, and he is live in Scotland. And Clinton's live right now. So I think it may just be NSA blocking Eston right now. Let's see here. Ask Eston.
Darn you, deep state.
Exactly. The deep state.
He said he's got it. He's live.
He's got it. Okay, great. All right. Awesome. And that's actually something that we, if you don't mind, see if Eston, if you're listening, Eston, come on. I'll send you the link. Come on the feed, because Eston was a part of the suppression of Christian voices in Idaho by the government, by the police, just a couple months ago. And so I'd love to have him on.
That would be very interesting. Come on. We'd like to hear from you.
So just message Eston and let him know, hey, like send him the link, Mr. Carl, and if he wants to jump on here in a minute, be good.
Otherwise, we're going to start singing our rendition of "Coming to America" by Neil Diamond. No, we're not.
Mr. Carl, like I said, you can stay on as long as you want. We're going
all of a sudden he pops up.
Exactly, Neil Diamond. I wish I can't edit now, so I gotta. But if you stay on as long as you want, Mr. Carl, like if you need to go, let us know. But
I'm here, man. I'm just going to step in and out just every once in a while to go get another cup of coffee, because
sounds good.
I'm having mine delivered.
sounds good.
In my Christmas cup.
You suck.
All right, so
because we still say Christmas. We do.
we're gonna bring Clinton on, and let's see. I'm gonna message him right now. Tell him to come on in. I keep typing his name because I'm trying to see.
Why are you doing that, man? Let me go back to something we talked to.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
A little while ago. The reality is, in this country, if I go out and I find 20 random people off the street, whether they be Black, Hispanic, Asian, white, Native American, Arab, Indian, African, it doesn't matter what ethnicity I find. Everybody wants the same thing. They just want to work hard for their families, raise their kids, and provide a future for their families. And we may not agree on everything, but generally, now you hear a lot of garbage on Facebook, but if you put those same two people in the room, because I've seen it, suddenly they don't feel quite so, they're not quite so vehement. Keyboard warrior and in person's a different thing. And people tend to deflate that a little bit and are willing to talk to each other and go, you know what, I don't really agree with you on that point, but I see you and I hear you. And, the first day of school, every year when I taught, the very first thing I would do was I would have the students list the ways we were alike and the ways we were different. Would you believe that in all the years I taught, and there were a lot of them, we were alike in more ways than we were different? You know what? I don't really agree with you on that point. And we got some guy named Clinton doing his community service.
Exactly. We got for his 20 hours of mandatory community service, Clinton Harris, everybody, the myth, the man, the legend. Clinton is the world record holder for the most jiu-jitsu rolls in the world, and also he's an actor.
Those don't come with cinnamon.
Exactly, and also he is a marketing and media rep for Vets for Trump, and so
Yeah.
so we wanted to bring on Clinton and just have a conversation and see what he's thinking about the election so far. Is you know, are you getting your magazines loaded? Like, what's going on there in
Is that a real question?
no, I don't know, man.
Ready to go,
Get it
man.
loaded up. Get it loaded up. Get it loaded up.
Dude, I
Just
got 15 magazines ready and sitting by me.
and they're Vogue, McCall's,
exactly.
Cosmopolitan.
And he also has a weapon just in case some craziness pop off.
Life and Time magazines.
exactly.
Nah,
man,
man.
what's going on, brother, man?
Glad to be here. I was kind of tripping out. I was like, wait a second, is this the right link? And then when it finally opened, it was, I think there's a delay here, maybe like
there is a little bit.
Yeah, like 15 seconds
delay. Yeah.
Maybe
So
12
he
seconds.
accidentally went to a Lady Gaga chat room.
Yeah, it's different whole different chat room.
That makes sense.
Different chat room. Yeah.
That makes sense. Nah, man.
Well, how things going there? You are in Florida, correct?
No, I just got back to Kansas. I drove back
you're in
from
Kansas.
Florida to Kansas. Yeah, just to get
So
in
how
case it
things
gets
going in
crazy, I don't
Kansas?
got to deal with
Did
the
you drive
humidity.
through North Carolina
Exactly.
at any point? Well, time out. Did you drive through North Carolina at any point?
Okay, let me look, man.
See, what
let me
happened
explain.
was
This is what happened.
Come on,
Right.
come on. Let me hear you lie.
So there's a couple things. One, I filed my absentee ballot to be sent from California to Florida. Never showed up. So I was on a phone call for an hour and a half trying to get them to send my absentee ballot to here, Kansas. And it was just one thing after another. And then also my grandma's not doing so well right now. Her cancer is it's getting worse. So I'm getting her to use plant medicines. And because chemotherapy's been beating her up pretty good. But
that's one good thing about it. Not the chemo, the plant-based.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I did not go through North Carolina. I was trying to rush back as quick as I can.
We understand.
And I think, I'm registered in California, but it's what it is, man. Like, if I get my ballot tomorrow, I'm still going to send it back to them. So.
Oh, you're not talking about committing voter fraud, are you?
No, it's their fraud because they lost my ballot in the first place.
Exactly.
They misplaced my request. That's what they did. Right.
They said, "Oh, this guy's a registered Republican. We gonna lose his ballot."
Straight up, man. No, I was listening to the conversation for probably almost the whole time, and man, like Craig's, I'm like 1,000% on with what he was saying. And Carl, there was great stuff that was going on there, but when he was talking about like swinging from a rope. I literally just had this conversation. Like, there's so much black and white detailed evidence, whether you like Trump or not, whether you're a Christian or not, detailed evidence that has been at the FBI with the FBI for, Hunter Biden's laptop a year.
Oh yeah.
And then you have Anthony Weiner's laptop. You got Hillary Clinton details on emails. I mean, it's just so much, man. So it's kind of
So the question is. That this goes back to just my point, right? The only reason that is not being prosecuted is because somebody else is guilty.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, Christopher Wray.
Correct, right? Because righteous men do not tolerate that kind of behavior.
Yeah.
Right. So if we're tolerating that kind of behavior, somebody's guilty somewhere. That's in charge of it. So
that's the crazy thing. I mean, you got James Comey, who was given the boot because of the fake Russian collusion garbage and the impeachment. He was given the boot, and then Ray's been sitting on all this stuff for 1 year for one, 2 or 3 for the other, 2 pieces of materials. This is all stuff that people, like, in any given state, regardless of your religious ideologies, like stuff that should be punishable by swinging from a rope. So in my mind, I'm like, man, Christopher Wray has either been told not to move on it, or the latter, which is he's complicit. He's directly involved. Maybe
Can
he
you
might
do anything anymore to swing from the end of a rope? I mean, like, think about like what we did with the mastermind of 9/11 and how we coddled him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I mean, I'm not sure you can do anything anymore to swing.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of speculation, but a lot of things in the ether, right? Like, you got one, apparently Guantanamo Bay, Cuba has been built up over the last few years, been built up to be able to hold many, many, many people. It was being torn down under even under Bush, and Obama. They were like basically breaking down Guantanamo Bay, and they were still doing terrible things to prisoners, but it's been getting smaller and smaller. And then all of a sudden, under Trump's administration, they've been building out Guantanamo Bay. So I don't know, man. I think that these people need to be like he took the words right out of my mouth, man. He was like, they need to be made an example of. I think, I don't know. I mean, I'm a Christian like you guys are, but I think some of the stuff there's videos, there's photos, there's detailed evidence of terrible, terrible, terrible things. And I do think Jesus forgives, God forgives, but these people, man, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, man. I think it should be publicly done, straight up. Just look, we're not going to tolerate this.
Forgiving and allowing them to be in charge of public policy and dictate the trajectory of the majority of the citizens and our livelihoods, our lives, our businesses. Those are two different things. I'm completely willing to forgive them. Absolutely willing to forgive them. And let God take care of them. But I don't want them in charge of anything that has anything to do with me. I don't know. I was messaging. I can't remember if I put it on this chat here, but I think it'd be I don't know. I think Trump's going to get tonight. I think Trump will get 300 plus electoral votes because they just called Virginia for him early. They called Virginia at 1% of the votes counted for Biden just a second ago. Like, what the heck is going on? Yeah,
what is crazy?
I was just looking at, like, I got the map up in the Associated Press. It's got Biden in Virginia. But I've also just heard that if Trump got Virginia, what anybody got the stat that's
they said Trump. So there's mixed reviews on it. Apparently, Trump is up, but they gave it at 1% of the vote tally to Biden, which doesn't.
That was their decision desk. That was that's Fox News has got a decision desk, right? And they're doing some prognostication. Based on their understanding of where the votes are and who the voters are and all that other stuff. And that was a real, that's been having me scratch my head all evening as well. How can you call that at 1%? And how can you call it when they've got at 1%, Trump's at 73 and Biden's at 30, right? And you're still calling for Biden, but they did it nonetheless.
So right now with that, we got it called so far by Associated Press for Trump. We got North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, South Carolina. And then they're leading the leads, pretty much the entire South is leading. He's either been called for Trump or Trump is leading according to the Associated Press. Trump is leading in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and Maine,
and Florida.
I was about to say, did you have Florida in there? I didn't hear Florida.
Yeah, Governor DeSantis was just talking about how the turnout in Florida. He's talking about the Hispanic vote, and dude, it is riveting. Like, people still think Biden has any sort of chance. I don't understand. Even if you don't like Trump, I don't understand how people could even be like, oh yeah, Biden still has a chance to do this and this and this and this. Like,
nobody has shown up to his rallies. Kamala was in North Carolina on Sunday. There were 50 people there.
Well, he has a chance because the Democrats have been cheating massively, preemptively. So
that's the thing. Like, so Easton just jumped on. I didn't recognize him because he don't have any hair no more. I was like, I
thought it was Wyatt Earp.
Exactly. Well, last time I saw it was like hair was down to his butt, man. He was like arguing with cops on a video and stuff, man. That was that was a drastic change there, Eston. Well,
suggestion from my father. If
smart move going to court and all, right?
Told me that if I intend to consistently potentially face police, probably not a good idea to look like a wild mountain man.
I don't agree. I don't agree with Mr. Carl on that one at this point. That's the one thing I don't agree with. Just have your hair long, put it in a braid, get some beads and put on, man. Be the biggest, conservative hippie you can probably be.
Jonathan,
dude,
Jonathan,
because
Jonathan, you are not son. You are not helping.
Dreadlocks.
Oh, don't worry, the Viking locks are gonna come back.
No, you'd be in trouble for cultural appropriation, man.
I am going to
Exactly.
I am going to sick my wife on you.
Don't do that. I'm good. I take it back. I take it back.
You done for. Good thing you in Thailand.
So to let everybody know, Clinton, Mr. Carl knows he's his son. Excuse me. Back a couple months ago in Moscow, Idaho, there was a psalm singing at the Capitol there, and the police literally showed up and arrested 3 people at that, just literally churches coming together and singing the Psalms for 15, 20 minutes, right, Eston?
Right.
For about 3 songs. So yeah.
Literally pulled up and arrested 3 people.
Yeah.
And Eston was there, part of that.
Oceans, they would not have arrested you.
Yeah, you got to sing some Hillsong stuff, man. You got to sing some Hillsong stuff.
It's pronounced Eston.
That way, you were one of the 3 that got arrested?
No, he was there.
No, actually.
Okay. I saw the video. Yeah. That's ridiculous, man. This is the garbage.
I was.
Go ahead.
A friend of mine, Dane Wilson, he was told me that he was watching my video. He said it looked like I was trying to get arrested. I said I was actually silently praying that I wouldn't.
But
I was praying that it wouldn't because I had homework to turn in.
Yeah, it's freaking crazy, man. Like arresting people that are going to church and pastors and stuff. Craig brought it up. Agenda 21, 2020, 2030, Event 201, Rockefeller Lockstep. This is all orchestrated. This whole thing. It's not to discount the virus being real or not real. That's not the question. The question is how overblown and how much power was given to these leftist public health administrators saying everyone has to wear a mask or they're a health hazard to everybody else and they should be arrested. This is crazy, man. I live in, well, for the time being, my address is in Studio City, which is in Los Angeles. And people, the Mayor Garcetti came out and he said, hey, basically, I'm not quoting him verbatim, but him and de Blasio of New York City were saying, hey, if you see your neighbor standing too close to somebody outside, if you see someone hugging, if you see someone kissing, all this crap, if you think there's more than 10 people in someone's home, call it in and we'll pay you for it.
Does Biden sniffing people's hair count?
Huh?
Does Biden sniffing people's hair count as being
sniffing children?
Less than 6 feet, man.
You smell like
that's why I had to cut mine. I was afraid of Biden smelling it.
Exactly.
Oh man,
wise, very wise.
Just imagine if you just all of a sudden you just hear this, and there's some little old decrepit hands coming over your shoulder. And, hello. It's just kind of sad.
You ain't right, man.
I tell you, I don't want him to win, but if he does win, as an entrepreneur, the ideas I have to make money.
Purses and shirts, oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, but you'll be taxed so much you won't be able to do it. You'll be like, I can't do it. That's too much tax. Too much tax.
You can't live on a 90% tax, son.
Exactly. See, this is my thought. And then Clinton kind of brought it up, and we'll go back to Eston. I want to go back to that event with Eston, but
Eston.
I'm sorry, Eston. Eston. It's not the same thing, but it's in my mind. It's the same thing.
I actually have a friend named Easton, so it's kind of important to distinguge the two.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Eston. So anyway, I want to go back to him in a second. But the idea is that, I mean, we were talking about this, or how do people would want to vote for this guy? Like he is, I mean, if you're just even fair-minded, like I was talking about this the other day, if it was like Tulsi, what's her name? Tulsi Gabbard, yeah. If it was her, I can go, okay, I can see people maybe going, all right, there's some good points. Maybe, it would be at least feasible. But this dude is
I don't.
addle-brained. How in the world could you even think, oh, he could lead the free world? It just doesn't make no sense.
I don't think they're actually voting for Biden. I think they're actually voting for his vice president, to be frank.
Mm.
I mean,
That's
he
why they
obviously
introduced her as the next
is not in his right
president of the
mind.
United States on Sunday.
What's that again?
That's why at a rally she was introduced as the next president of the United States a couple of days ago, and no one corrected the person at all.
And her husband had that video, that 15-second video. I'm married to the next president of the United. Nah, bro, she ain't gonna be president, man. Ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, that's the odd thing is this, and if they intentionally are propping him up, just so he can be within 6 months to a year, said, oh well, he's got Alzheimer's or he's got actual full blown dementia. We're gonna
everybody's in on the joke, but him.
Yeah.
Well, I think to be honest, I think it's just my opinion, and a lot of what Craig said lined up with it spot on. So a lot of the stuff that a lot of things that are coming to the surface, these big, heavy crimes that are being allegated, if that's the word, whatever, against the Biden family. Alleged, alligated. I like alligated. It sounds like alligator.
We'll go nice, right? I kind of like alligator.
That sounds smartish.
Like you might be from Idaho.
Hey, a word wasn't a word until it was a word. So hey,
fair enough.
Hey, Lewis Carroll made up words. You can do it too.
Shakespeare too.
But I think a lot of the stuff with even the Bushes, the Clintons, the Obamas, Biden family, all these establishment families, whether you're Republican, Democrat, there's a lot of people guilty of heavy crimes, and being a vet, right? So if you were in the military and you did 1%, and you got caught, and during war times, you would be strung up and hung or shot by a firing squad. So I think to even a small degree, he might have early onset dementia, but I think it's also an act, because you see Pelosi also messing up her words and stuff, and you're like, what the?
She's a drug addict though. She's an
alky.
She's
alky.
But I think popping some Valium and some Flexeril and some vodka at the same time.
My theory is that they're doing it even a little bit on purpose.
Going on, man.
Those Capitol raves, they really can be something.
Can you see Pelosi with some glow sticks
Yes.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
No, rubbing peanut butter on herself, just like
we love you, Nancy. Just kidding.
No, we don't. We don't at all. Not even
with the love of Jesus, we love you.
Yeah, we love you that way.
Brain bleach just for that visual, man.
I think that there's a little
supply of brain bleach.
I think that I think there's a little bit of an act there, because if they can make it seem like they don't know, they're not cognitively clear, then maybe they can not be tried high treason.
Oh man, there's that tinfoil. You got a tinfoil hat, son, don't you?
Exactly. We got a bum like that.
That's right. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just making an observation.
I have 3 of them actually.
No, not Clinton. Clinton is not known for conspiracy theories at all.
Look, man. Pelosi brought up the 25th Amendment, and some people are like, maybe she's talking about Biden. Nah, bro. She said that they wanted to fumigate Trump out of office. She also, there's one thing after another, like the impeachment. The same day the impeachment failed, the same exact day, an hour after or whatever, we had our first confirmed coronavirus case. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's go on. All right, so before we run down that rabbit hole, and that's what our
do we bring our own tea to the tea party?
Exactly. We'll do that.
Kombucha.
Exactly.
I like that 300 blackout tea.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, Lord. So Eston, going back to see, I said it right. Look at me. I'm proud of myself. Yay. So Eston, what was on the ground there with in Moscow? not Russia, Idaho.
Are you sure? I mean, I'm having a hard time telling the difference anymore.
Exactly. It may be close to Kremlin. Like, where's your papers? Where is your papers at? That was
Germany.
That was German.
I don't have a Russian accent. My
That was
Russian
bad
accent.
German too.
Where is your papers? I can't do a Russian accent.
Where
You
is your
cannot do a
pap-
Russian accent. You're bad at it.
Drink the vodka. I don't know. But anyway,
Oh, better.
so
It's just potato juice.
yeah, we're having some potato juice. That's what it's like. It's like Michael Jackson calling wine Jesus juice. You know, it's just a little Jesus juice. Anyway, oh man, y'all, I digressed. Eston, so tell us about that event. Like, what was like? This was literally like something that you see out of like a 1984 coming out and the thought police coming out and arresting people. Like, what was that going through your mind? Were you wanting to like, hey, let's throw down on this? Like, what was the vibe there? I know Pastor Doug Wilson was there. A lot of pretty big people in the evangelical and reform communities there. What was kind of the vibe there at that time?
Okay, so we decided to do the psalm sing right in front of town hall in response to the city council extending the city's mask mandate.
Yeah.
In spite of the fact that we appealed to science to say, look, masks don't even recognizably work except under extremely certain circumstances, and we also showed a picture of our beloved mayor administering a wedding without a mask or social distancing, and to basically show that, okay, even you don't believe in this, even you don't think that this is really going to do anything. Well, they extended the mask mandate anyway, and so we decided that we were going to protest, but not like BLM, where we don't block roads or start riots. So decided to gather in front of town hall and sing. And the thing is, we let everyone who wanted to attend know that if you wanted to wear a mask or if you wanted to social distance, you're totally welcome to do that. But of course, most of us didn't. We came here because we came precisely to protest that. So we're singing our songs. We have quite a few police around, and it looks like nothing's happening for a little bit, and then what are you laughing about?
No. I'm laughing because your dad pointed and he said this, and then Anthony's like, "That's what I'm laughing about."
That was at Chrissy. It was at Chrissy.
I know.
Chrissy.
I know, but I still thought it was funny.
As soon as a female come on, everybody's like, "Hey, how's
We're
it
just being
going?"
polite gentlemen.
Y'all are so rude. Let him finish. I want to
So
hear.
Eston, carry on, my brother.
All right.
It's
But
Eston,
hi, everybody.
not Easton.
Okay, I won't mess that up.
Yeah, differentiate from my friend. All right, so
Who is a wanted fugitive?
yeah. So because I see the cops around, I pull out my phone and start recording just in case anything went down. And so then as I'm singing, I saw Gabe Wrench being pulled away. So I decided I should probably go up and check that out. And so I go up to him, and I'm asking the police their names, and I'm bringing my phone close to them to get their names and their badge numbers, hopefully. I'm actually going to say that was probably the most nerve-wracking thing ever, being in a tense situation right up with the police.
Yeah.
A
couple things that you mentioned I want to talk about. So Gabe, if those that don't know, is him and some other guys run a YouTube channel and a political Christian
Cross Politic
podcast called Cross Politic, which I'm just gonna say Chocolate Knox has been ghosting me there, Mr. Carl. He's been ghosting me. Eston, like I've been messaging that. He's like, he was all cool with it.
We
and he's like,
invited Joan.
And we invited Joan, but he just ghosted me, Mr. Carl.
Nah, well, so two things, right? One, the man works double time for half pay, right? That's one. And the next thing is they're doing Cross Politics got their election night run going right now.
See, they could jump over here and be like, "Hey, what's up, man?" Like I this dude like Bob. Bob jumped on and was like, "Hey, how's it going, guys?" And then jump off. He just ghosted me, Mr. Carr. They just ghosted me. Anyway,
I'm gonna give him some grief about that. Hold on, I'm gonna text him right now.
Live, and I'm like, "Why you ghosting?
We
You ghosted me."
Like this is the moment that he's the busiest, but
Exactly.
now we're not talking about any other
I'm fixing
time.
to tell
Right
him.
now.
I'm fixing to tell him. Look here, you are being
How dare
dissed
you.
on international television.
Exactly.
Don't show up, right?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
You jump
And
on.
how do you think he's going to react? You actually think, oh, my bad. Let me call him right
No,
now.
but
no.
it's just
You're making it worse.
you gotta bust somebody's junk sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so that's one thing I was gonna say, and then and the second thing I can't remember I was gonna say.
So this is the video. That
Yeah,
we
the video.
watched.
This is Eston was
Can I
there. Yeah.
jump in? Like you mentioned, it was tense. I
Oh,
don't
that's the
think
thing.
that's. I don't even think that touches it. I mean, you're seconds away from watching somebody go to jail, and you're seconds away from going on your yourself. You know, like
Yeah, that was it was one of those things where I was up there right up with them trying to take my evidence, and at the same time I'm going, why am I here? Oh yeah.
So, but that's the thing that drove me crazy. I wanted to punch somebody when that cop was like, "Are you done with your little thing? Are we done with this little thing?" I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh man, somebody just." I mean, I'm all like back to blue and those kind of things. I love cops. I love that. But, man,
Darren lost it.
Oh man, I was like, that made me so mad. Because it was, and the thing that I did, and everybody said on there is that the chief or whoever the detective on the scene or whatever it was, he knew this was wrong. He knew it. You could see it in his face, man. He was like, "No, we are messing up bad, doing this."
And you even said that.
Yeah, people were even saying to him.
Somebody on there, I remember saying, you know, this isn't right.
I think that I don't think it's an accident. I mean, you have a lot of like big Democratic mayors and governors that are pushing these mandates that are not law and telling their law enforcement, who they don't support anyway, because they all want to defund the police, right? So they're like, hey, we're going to defund like LA, defunding by $500 million is the goal. And then they're like, hey, we also want you who do stay to go fine people $1,000 for not wearing a mask. The intention is very simple. It's to create a rift even greater between the people and the police. So the people that are like most of us are like, yeah, I support good cops, which is the majority of cops are good people, right? Good men, good women.
Yep.
But they create an additional pressure by telling these cops to go give people like us citations because we don't want to wear a mask. It's not on accident. It's all on
One
purpose.
of the things that we noticed that happened in Moscow, right? So, and it's not like, so Christchurch has been doing psalm sings on a regular basis for years, and in town in Friendship Square, and Pastor Doug elected to do that one at City Hall specifically in answer to the extension of the mask mandate. What was really notable was that, and Gabe, I'm going to say this, and Gabe's been out publicly saying this was not the case several times, but it's quite notable that Gabe has been very vocal. He's running for city council. County commissioner. We hope he gets elected tonight. We hope he wins. But
I'm praying for it.
He's been very, very vocal against the mask mandate as a candidate for county commissioner and as a Moscow citizen. He is a deacon in Christchurch, right? And he was the first one arrested. So, I mean, you make of that what you will. He can say that he wasn't targeted, but I'm standing there looking from the outside looking in going, oh, all right, Gabe, you can't say that, but I can. So there's one. The next thing is they arrested a young married couple and then elected not to arrest anybody else. So that was a show. That's all it was. It was a showpiece for them to say, see, we told you. And then when Christchurch, when they doubled down and went back the next week and said, okay, this is how we're going to play. We are going to sing. And then of course it went, full blown, got on Laura Ingraham, went worldwide, didn't just get on Fox News, but it got all over the place, right? Went to Germany, went to everywhere in the world got into the White House communications director got a hold of it, right? So it got the attention of some very, very high level people very quickly. And then and I don't think that, and it was, then pressure says, yeah, so we are going to sing Psalms and we are going to sing in public. And then the police decided not to arrest on the second iteration, right? So that was notable as well. And I, it's, trying to see who could pee the furthest, right? Which, when you're doing that with citizens' rights, when you're overstepping your authority and you're trying to institute and mandate some extrajudicial or extra legal type of ordinances that you have absolutely no right to be doing, and you get caught out, you get your hand slapped. I think that's what happened. They got their hand slapped. Now, they didn't back down and they didn't rescind the mask order by any means, but they didn't arrest anybody else. But they did publicly reserve the right to investigate. And
wasn't there a Black Lives Matter riot protest thing just like a couple days before that, or a week or two before that?
I don't think it turned into a riot. It was
But
it was protest.
it was a
protest.
protest.
That nobody, there was no social distancing going on. There's very few masks, and the police did nothing. Correct? Am I'm misunderstanding the facts on that one?
No interaction whatsoever. You're absolutely correct.
So let me make
And
sure
that's
I
exactly
understand.
the point that Darren Doan brought up when they were taking Gabe and the Benets away. He said that the Black Lives Matter was screaming about how they wanted them defunded, and we supported them, and yet we are the ones getting arrested.
Yeah.
So let me make sure I understand that. Just near there, not too far, there was a protest, not a riot, but a protest.
It
And
was
Black
a
Lives
few
Matter-
weeks ago by that time.
A few weeks prior. Okay. And they were saying defund, and they were against the police officer. Is that correct?
Yeah,
And
that is
then
my
they were-
understanding. So
and they
I
were
personally
not-
wasn't there at that time. I was still in
right.
Texas.
Okay.
I believe I got this from I believe I got it from Daniel Fukashan, that there was a protest in Moscow.
And we
So
have evidence of that, and no
Yeah.
social distancing. And then a few weeks later, a peaceful gathering for
Singing
prayer,
songs.
just singing songs.
Were you on key?
Yeah, that's what it was. You was off key.
That's-
Oh,
that's-
no. I promise you they were not off key.
No, man.
Poetry.
Yeah, see,
Why else would
no,
you guys have gotten arrested?
no.
and they
Reform people can't sing on key, man. I'm sorry, we can't sing on key.
didn't? Now we know.
Reform people can't do that, man. It's like
You were preordained to be flat.
Yeah. you gotta have some Pentecostals up in it. You gotta have some charismatic be singing. Singing on key on
Okay, I'm gonna tell you something. So
All right, lay it on us, Carl.
this is on YouTube, right?
All right.
This
This
is
is live on YouTube. Live on
Oh, this
YouTube.
is gonna be
Hey,
like
look at it.
forever.
Don't hold it back.
So
Do it.
so
Let
here's
it
the
go.
thing. Dr. David Erb is going to see this.
Okay.
And you are going to cause him a conniption fit. Now, David, I'm going to tell you, this young man does not know whereof he speaks. Okay.
Forgive him, he
I
does
have,
not know
I
what he
have
does.
admonished him, so please take note that I have admonished him.
Oh
There,
Lord.
now that record is set straight.
Okay, you good now. I feel good. All right, you're good. All right, cool. Continue, Eston. We digress a lot. So sorry.
okay.
This is a great group, by the way. I'm having
There's
fun.
just little squirrels running around inside our heads. There's not actually brains.
Exactly. There's
Just
no
little squirrels.
there's no like direct line. We're just gonna say, okay, we're gonna hang out here until
Oh my God.
before we get in that, is anybody got an update on any states that's been called? Anything else?
I do.
I think it's-
All right, what you got? What you got? Clint?
you first.
No, go ahead, Anthony.
I was gonna say, at least at the moment, North Carolina has turned around, and by a narrow margin, Trump has moved back in the lead. Now, Kamala only had 50 people at her rally on Sunday,
You mean 42?
and Yeah, and Trump had thousands and thousands and thousands every time he showed up.
5,000.
But strangely, it's very close. So
Yeah.
we're praying hard.
We ran Eston off. Eston's like,
So-
"Forget this, I'm gone." On his back.
Here I am.
So-
what you
so
got?
I'm
What you
in it.
got, Clint?
I'm in a group chat with some crazy peeps, and it is what it is. And one of them's a veteran, so actually two of them are veterans. So
Is it
Michigan, it
MS?
looks like Trump is at 1,209,300, so just over 1 million, and Biden is at like 747. So it looks like Trump is about to win Michigan at 56% versus 42%.
Oh,
Wisconsin, he's at 50. This is what one of them posted: 51% in Wisconsin to 47% for Biden in Wisconsin. So if he pulls off Michigan and Wisconsin, that's big. Texas, he's up 300,000 over Biden. And then let's see, there's Ohio, he's up 3% on top of Biden.
Hmm.
So hey, I mean,
yeah, it's getting there. If he can
And
pull
not
off
that
Wisconsin,
not that anybody really gives a rip, because we understand how the game is played and what the rules are. But I'm looking at the popular vote right now, and popular vote is Trump 42,429,518, and Biden is 40,286,428. So that's Trump at 50.5% and Biden at 47.9 popular vote.
on the popular vote. Wow.
And only my liberal friends will care about that.
I'm gonna address that. I want to talk about that for a moment.
All right, go ahead.
North Carolina's up.
So
I gotta take a bathroom break. Y'all go ahead. And,
So-
Number two?
No, it's number one. I'll be right back. It's all right.
you could have just slipped away and no one would have ever known. But no, you have to tell the
depends on-
entire planet.
it
Half
depends
the
on-
tinkle.
It depends on how good my Flow Max is working and how long it's gonna take. They're like,
How about
stop.
that? How about that Thailand bidet?
Oh, I love it, dude. All right, so like let this one digress a little bit. So the past couple days, I've been having I have what we call in the South around cows the skyres, and so Miss Carl may know what the skyres are. I don't know if he knows what the skyres are.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but I had the skyres, right? And ain't nothing as good as when you have the skyres as having that little butt sprayer. It is the most soothing, amazing thing. So anyway, I will just leave you with that as I go and go.
Thank you so much for that, Jonathan.
That sounds like a perfect segue into the Electoral College.
Exactly. I know what I'm doing.
Bring it, Anthony.
All right,
Come on. Let's
here's the thing.
let us return some gravity.
All right, so here's the thing. One of the big misunderstandings that we deal with anytime we come to election season, folks, listen to me carefully. We are not a democracy.
Nope.
All right. We do not bring little black pebbles and white pebbles to the forum and put them in cisterns. This is not Athens. We are a democratic republic. And our forefathers, who quite honestly, pretty smart fellas, and maybe really, probably even had the wives at home tell them a lot of stuff. I mean, we look at let's be real. They figured out in their foresight that the best system was what we call the Electoral College. And I hear people all the time, I want to do away with the Electoral College. I want to do away with the Electoral College. If you do that, a small number of states who have the largest populations will control the fate of everyone.
It'll just take a few cities.
Yeah. And it's not, look, it is there's only one perfect system. Let me be very plain and simple about this. The only perfect system is for Yeshua to sit on the throne. Okay. That's the perfect system. We're not there yet, but thank you guys, because you're moving us closer. But we're not there yet. In the meantime, the whole world watches the way our democratic republic works because of the government that's given to men. It works when it works. Yeah. Carl, talk to us.
All right, so right now, just Biden has 133 electoral votes. Trump has 115. Just to put emphasis on your point, Biden has 133 electoral votes with 4 states. Okay, Trump has 115 with 8.
Yep.
You understand? So this is those 4 states have high density population urban centers, right? And so that is very, very instructive to your point. So just going on, the electoral college is one of my favorite subjects.
Yeah.
Well, of course, constitutional republicanism is one of my favorite subjects because I think it's the best governmental system ever devised by the mind of man. I actually think it was divinely inspired.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there's been a better system of government since the Hebrew Republic that was handed to Moses. And quite frankly, I prefer this system to the Hebrew Republic. I don't want all them 536 commandments that I have to.
I like eating pork.
Yeah,
Amen.
Bacon's a good thing.
Bacon's a good thing.
These guys,
Bacon's a good thing.
Bacon's legal.
So one of the things is
bacon and shrimp.
Exactly.
Don't tell me I can't eat bacon. I can't eat shrimp.
They made to go together. God, like how could God make something so good to go together and not be like, yeah, you can't eat that. Can't eat that.
So you take the shrimp, wrap it in the bacon, eat it.
Oh Lord.
Right?
Mm.
And a scoop of ice cream.
Whew.
Carl, you kind of have a similar voice to Trace Adkins. You ever heard that?
He does.
It took me a second. Hey, Trace Adkins is pro-Trump and he's a Christian. So hey, here we go.
There you go.
No, actually, I've never heard Trace Adkins before. Now I've heard
Welcome.
I've heard at church a couple times.
Oh, hang on.
At church a couple times. I've heard Sam Elliott. And,
Okay. Yeah.
You don't say the F-bomb enough to be Sam Elliott.
Who actually came out for Biden? By the way.
You ain't heard me stub my toe.
Hang on a second. We're going I can't do it. When I try to do the video up of the audio, it won't play. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah.
When we do screen sharing, it doesn't show up share audio.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have been to Los Angeles maybe, but living in Los Angeles, being an actor and living in LA and just knowing people, man, I am so grateful the Electoral College exists because let me tell you, man, there are some crazy off the wall, like deep spells and witchcraft. It's all real stuff. I mean, these people are doing some crazy stuff, and I'm so happy that groupthink being as disgusting as it is, like, and being used against us in a big way. I'm really grateful the Electoral College exists because I don't want people in LA making decisions for the rest of the country.
So one of the things we had a question on via Facebook. Just want to reintroduce everybody for everybody that's just joined us. So Mr. Carl Berglund here, he is the myth, the man, the legend. He is and my personal hero because he is doing project managing for the Safe Village for SWAT Ministries. And so he is doing an amazing thing. He is a project manager in the oil field. He does all kinds. But right now he's stuck in the purgatory, also known as New York City there, or New York. And so he's there.
They have good pizza, man.
They call it the pie.
Man, you know what? I can get pizza at Pizza Hut. It may not be that good.
You live in Thailand.
I ain't got to be in New York.
I want to do away with this myth right now. The pizza here is that my wife's pizza is 1,000 times better than the pizza these people make. I don't know how these people got legendary for their pizza, but it is decidedly average.
It's that disinformation thing.
Pre-COVID.
Oh man.
Whatever, man.
That was a nice shout out to your wife. That was smart. That was smart.
Good.
You're gonna get some nice text later.
All right, so that's Mr. Carl, an amazing guy. He has a podcast. What was your podcast name, Mr. Carl? I'm terrible with remember names.
Berglund Report.
The Berglund Report. So he has a podcast that comes out. He is on there. He's my connection to anything that is reformed in Idaho around Doug Wilson and those guys. That's like, that's the.
So it's your fault.
Other guy. Anyway, so that's who Mr. Carl is. Amazing guy. loves Jesus, but also is about like, hey, we need to be involved in government. So that's Mr. Carl. And then that guy named Clinton is Clinton Harris is an actor. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He is the world record holder for the most roles in 24 hours. He holds the Guinness Book of World Records for the amount of roles. There's another record you hold too. I can't remember. I'm looking up online. What was the other one you hold on the record there? Maybe I was clicking through something that wasn't correct.
So yeah, no. So I'm still waiting on Guinness to give me the green light, but the guy that I know who had it before me, he's a former Royal Marine for the UK, or the British Special Forces or whatever. And I did 20 something, I think 22 more rolls than he did. So I have, it's a no gi, meaning no, I'm not wearing a gi, and then overall. So those are technically two separate. Two separate ones.
But Clinton is an amazing guy. He is connected. He's being like a spokesman for SWAT. He is doing all kind of things for us and with us. When COVID stupid stuff goes away, he's gonna be out here with us doing things as well. Yeah. And so we're excited about that. But he also is one of the marketing guys and the connector guys for Vets for Trump, is another organization that your brother-in-law started and sister.
Yeah, my brother-in-law and sister, they're both former Army, and they 4 years ago they invited me to be a part of it, and then I was like, nah, I'm good, man. And then I started realizing a lot of things that I was completely oblivious to before. And then I basically accepted the position that they kind of had for me already 4 years ago.
There you go. So. And he is also my fellow brother in all things conspiracy theory. And so we
that's where the tinfoil hats come from.
Exactly. We share them a couple times.
Limited edition.
Exactly. It's got a little Gucci sign.
It's like name brand tinfoils too.
Exactly.
None of this value stuff.
Exactly.
They're the shiny
Reynolds wrap.
Exactly.
Chin strap. Yeah. Because you never know. You never know when you're gonna have to run.
Exactly. And then we have Eston. Eston is Mr. Carl's son. I don't know what order. Mr. Carl has never. There's like 57 of y'all, so I'm not sure where in the order you fall there, Eston.
It's inspiring.
But, he is one of Mr. Carl's sons, and he
I'm
actually his sixth out of 57. So like that's a pretty good number there. It's a good number. You're high up on the total. And so but Carl Eston was actually at the sing-in in Moscow, Idaho, where Christians were arrested for just singing psalms on the courthouse steps, kind of thing. And so we wanted to bring him on and just to talk with him and see that perspective of something that, of literally Christian persecution that has beginning to happen in all places, Moscow, Idaho. So that was interesting to see. And so and Eston is here. He is less hippified looking, which makes me just sad. He had like some exactly. He's got long locks and all these things.
It's now the gray man.
Exactly. So, but anyway, so that's a rundown for Justin Tamerlan about who everybody is, and of course, my wife. Everybody knows my wife. This is my beautiful, loving, amazing wife. I love her so much. She is here to provide. She was going to ask me questions too. That may be like, she's not real political. She's a mom. She loves Jesus. She's a mom.
Oh, snap. Oh.
No, I'm just saying she's more concerned with her youngins, taking care of her family and taking care of her house.
Careful how you say that.
Then worried about what stinking, Biden and Trump doing. Like
knows her places in the kitchen.
Exactly. She barefoot.
Oh my.
Making me a sandwich. That she know where woman.
So we're gonna go ahead and clarify.
Mom is the most political dog in the world.
For the women that are watching, the very few that jumped on only because I'm on here, that no, just because you're a woman or a mom doesn't mean you don't love politics. Just never really was something that I really dove into until yesterday. No, I'm just kidding. And who can at this point, but it's just not one of my specialties. I mean, I can talk about all kinds of different subjects, and I've got a ton of kids, so yes, my mind does seem to be on that. But no, women, you guys are awesome. If your mom's and no politics, it's okay. It's okay. I still I love you. I'm just not there. But so there are some other people that are like me that don't necessarily know all the ins and outs. There's two that are being voted for, and that's about all you know. Republican, Democrat, done. And so just going over for some people like us that that don't know all the ins and outs and whatnot would be interesting for us.
So she's gonna come on and ask some questions here when we hit a little break, and everybody kind of starts winding down on their conversations, which might not happen, but we're gonna do it.
This is fun.
So anyway, so that's for Justin. Justin was asking all these questions, and of course Anthony is a big loser who is a recovering active drug addict. He is using this as his community service,
Mostly freebasing.
yeah, just the soft stuff, meth, heroin, those kind of things. That's Anthony's thing. But he's coming to know Jesus slowly. And he's we're trying to get him over to the actual true Christianity of Reformed theology, but we're not quite there yet. So we're like witnessing to him and evangelizing him. So anyway, so that's
how many kids you got, Anthony?
2.
Just snatch them babies away from him and baptize them. That'll take care of it.
see, that's where you lost me on that one.
I done baptized them, man. I baptized them years ago.
See, I just can't get to Presbyterian. I can't get to pedo baptism.
Look,
I can't jump on it.
I'm praying.
It's okay.
For you,
Neither can the Bible.
I'm praying for you, and we will get you saved. We will get you saved. It'll be all right.
Sounds good.
If it's meant to be.
Maybe my children's not supposed to be saved. I don't know. Anyway,
they got to be saved to live with you, homie.
They got to be something. They got to be something. Anyway, go ahead. That's everybody. So back to the thing. I'll go back to checking my messages, and y'all talk amongst yourselves.
I still never got to hear the end of Eston. Oh, sorry.
Oh yes.
Anthony.
Well, I was gonna say so. Just real quick, you said something, Miss Chrissy, a moment ago. A couple of things here. One, just for the moms listening, when President Trump needed to send someone to straighten out the UN, he sent a mom. Okay, there.
Amen.
That was set. So the other thing, you hit on something that's very interesting. They're actually, as I watch over here off screen, I've got a small TV monitor. I'm watching the election results come in. They're only talking about Trump and Biden, but those are not the only candidates. When you went and voted, there were 3 or 4 total candidates. I think there might have been one more on there. I mean, I only
there were quite a few when I went to vote.
Yeah. I mean, but the reality is the system is set up in a manner that, if we're just totally transparent, it's set up in a way so that it's kind of like one of them tag team wrestling matches, one of them cage matches from back in the 80s, where the 2 main event people is really all about what they're doing in the ring, and all those other people are peripheral characters. I know that's a worst illustration ever, but that's basically what you have. Everybody every year, it's only focused on, I mean, think about it. Did you see any of these other candidates in any of the debates? They don't even get invited, and so they don't have the platform. I'm thinking maybe in 2024, me and Carl run our entire campaign on YouTube and Facebook, and
never
just
get out, never talk to nobody, don't shake no hands.
Yes, well, by that point, we're all going to be living in bubbles anyway.
Well, yeah, because we'll have to, and taking our wives out to dinner with plexiglass dividers.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So, anyways, I don't know if that helps.
Don't take her dancing. You can't take her dancing. There won't be none of that.
No, we see we Baptists. You can't be dancing. That's just can't be out dancing. That's of the devils. You can't be hip grinding. You can't be rubbing up on each other like that. That's only for the living room.
The living room.
That's the bedroom.
No, you can't be. Never mind.
Let's not digress in that.
Anyway,
I think you
tune
need to
in for this and other dating tips with John.
I think you need to take a look at set of house plans, son.
Pro John.
Oh yes. So Chrissy, so
Uh-oh.
what was some? So we were talking the other day about some things,
Yeah.
understand. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, Eston. Before I jump off into that rabbit hole, Eston, finish your story, please.
Oh,
Sorry,
geez,
we're
we've been
ADD.
down about 1,000 different rabbit trails by now.
Yeah.
Okay, so picking up from where I left off, I'm following Gabe and talking to the police as much as I can, and the main of the questions that were asked were something along the lines of, Gabe Wrench asked this directly. He said, "Officer, at what point do you protect your people against tyranny?"
Yes.
And in a similar vein, I was asking them, okay, we pay you to protect us and serve us. Are you protecting and serving us right now?
Mm.
And well, we never really got an answer, either of us, to any of that. But
You did though.
Yeah, you
The
got
the
an answer.
answer was obvious. They put
Exactly.
bracelets and hauled him off.
Exactly.
So,
oh yeah,
So here's the thing, and I don't know if you saw Eston's video at all. So Eston's holding the camera in this cop's face, right? And he got just a tad direct. Just a tad direct. He asked that question twice or three times.
2 or 3.
And then he said, "Answer the question."
I said, "What's your answer?"
And here I am. I'm watching this. I'm watching this live, right? And I'm going, "Oh my goodness, boy, you are fixing to get handled."
I hope you got insurance on that phone.
Yeah, I mean, probably the one thing that I regretted as soon as I said it, I told the cop to grow up. I said, "Grow up."
Yeah.
Grow
Emotions are high, apparently.
Um,
I saw that. I got you, Anthony. I got that. I got you on that one.
yeah.
That's good.
I didn't see it.
It was a Nazi reference. That was good stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
On point.
Yeah.
No, but that's
that's
the shitty part is a lot of these cops, man, like they need to be that needs to be said though. I mean, because this whole like I'm just following orders garbage. The mask mandates are not laws, no matter which way they paint it. And this is not a pandemic. This is not a pandemic by definition anymore. They called it a pandemic. The real science, the real data, the CDC and the FDA lying out their teeth, left and right, media trying to cover it up, hospitals getting reamed, doctors, and it's not saying the entire medical field is garbage, but it's just saying there's a lot of lies. And so it's not a pandemic anymore, not even a definition of it. So the previous mandates and the public health administrators that got power hungry and the governors that are trying to hit everybody over the head, none of them have any power because this is not defined as a pandemic anymore. So cops are out here.
Let me ask you a question along that line, brother.
Yeah.
If nobody on the television ever from January to this day ever said anything about COVID, right? Would you have known any difference from 2019, 2018, 2017?
No. But that's the thing, is when I don't know how much research you've done into United Nations Agenda 21.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, so it was all orchestrated.
I wrote that.
Yeah. It was all orchestrated, man. And the fear is so disgusting. There's speculation last year. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. It was in the news for like a single day. The media reported on active military operations in Los Angeles, like crazy military ops, like Blackhawks flying through. People thought there was a war going on. I was living in LA when this happened. It was like February last year. And there's speculation, there's video footage of these guys pulling people, like hogtied couple people, and then some cylindrical objects that look like possible biological weapons.
They just called Florida.
They called Florida for who?
Trump.
Oh, of course.
Here we go.
That's 29.
29.
That's 29.
Yep.
Now it's on top. He's on top now, right?
Yep.
29, 129 to 120.
Can we just pause and praise
143.
God?
Is that right?
Yeah, and here's the thing. Here's the thing. It's important. The Bible's real clear about how life is for the people when the righteous versus the unrighteous rule. Now, let's be real. Let's be honest. Trump is not a saint.
No.
Okay, he's not a perfect man. But we're not voting for a pastor in chief. We're voting for a president. This is a job interview.
I'm actually not even voting for a leader of the country. I voted just to have someone buy time so that I'm actually looking for a peaceful divorce of this nation. Really. That's what I'm looking for. I want it to be peaceful.
Well, that's my son.
Yeah. History tells us, unfortunately, though, I got a lot of books on the shelf behind me that tell me ain't no such thing as a peaceful divorce.
Power once accrued rarely concedes absent force.
Yeah,
Very rarely.
I think, stop speaking the truth like that. You're making me depressed.
It's somebody said, forgive me for not remembering who said it, but they said of Lincoln after the American Civil War that he dragged his bride, kicking and screaming back into the Union. That's
it was not a civil war.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was. Yeah, I mean that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, we call that the War of Northern Aggression.
Well, that's by the way, that's why I call it in my book right here.
War of Northern Conquest.
But hey, man, my family lost 5,000 acres in that war, so now I live on less than one and in a house. But it's all good. Ill-gotten gains and all that, I suppose. But whatever.
Baggers.
Yeah. But the reality
is, let's start bashing Yankees now.
Oh my gosh.
Damn Yankees.
That's another episode. But the reality.
I didn't say that. I think. Now it's on YouTube. It's forever.
Well, now, hey, I'm looking at. It's interesting. I'm looking at even though Florida was just called. Full disclosure, I'm actually watching the more left-leaning media because I'm very curious. And even though Florida was just called, they still show Biden up quite a bit on Trump.
Yeah,
really.
What they're reporting versus what my wife is watching in the living room from another network that advertises itself as fair and balanced is quite different. It's kind of fascinating. But to your point, Eston, my fear, my brother, is that there is no such thing as a nameable divorce. So Miss Chrissy, you have the floor.
Sorry, that just really sparked something. So I just want to clarify. You just said that two different sources are claiming two different things. And what
shocking in America, isn't it?
Hang on. Let me play this out. So when you hear these conspiracy theorists saying that, oh, this channel's only TV is squashing this happening and that happening, and it's hard sometimes for people to be like, oh, is that true? No, that can't be true. America would never do that. What? It's freedom of speech. No way. But what you're saying is literally right now, there's proof, evidence that one channel is favoring more one side than the other. So how can evidence be seen and then still deny, maybe this has been going on for a while. Maybe there is something more to the media controlling pandemics and elections and everything else. Maybe for all those people that are like, no, that could never happen. Can we just talk about that for a second?
Sure. Well, two words: cognitive dissonance. So people believe really what they want to believe to a great degree. There's that presupposition to a certain degree. It takes a lot of will to believe something that goes contrary to what you've always thought. And when you're in a sense programmed from day one to trust the media. I remember growing up, we'd cut on the news at nighttime. Good evening. This is the, Tom Brokaw. You know, I mean, we had Tom Brokaw, we had Dan Rather Not, we had all these different. Yeah, I was bringing one back right there. But we had these sources that they were the go-to. They were our prophets, right? So the culture was very much prepared to just have a whole other generation kind of slide in and shape whatever narrative they wanted to present. And then the left-leaning side, I said this earlier tonight, they're professionals at gaslighting. If you challenge them in any way, you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a homophobe. I mean, you know, all these different things, rather than examining facts. You know, I'm a factual person. I'm not a believer in Jesus Christ because, quite honestly, it has nothing to do with faith for me. It's simple facts. Just listen to me. Listen to me now. I want you to understand what I'm saying. After 2 years of study,
so Anthony,
it's what made sense. No, it's what made sense, and I think you guys understand what I'm saying. It made sense. It was the only rational path when I compared everything and put all the evidence together, like Josh McDowell and others have done. It was rational, and I feel like we don't like rational. We want people to just kind of tell us what it is. It's easy to live our life in that way.
Which, let me
Yeah,
ask
you made
this
a really
earlier.
good point there too about that brainwashing there, Anthony, and then directly to your question, Chrissy. So it's then you can get this on YouTube. There's an interview that Paul Harvey did with Yuri Bezmenov, right?
Yeah.
Back in it was 1967, and basically what Yuri said was he described in detail everything that is going on right now. He said, this is what we do, and this is what we're going to do. We basically we brainwash, we destabilize, and then we normalize, right? And the normalization comes when the tanks come rolling in, right? Tanks come rolling in down the streets. That's we have now normalized, right? So now I can take you once you've been programmed with my propaganda. And then I can take you, I can tell you everything that you've been told is a lie, right? And you won't believe me.
Yeah.
And I can take you on a plane over to the gulags, to the concentration camps, and I can show you, and you still won't believe me. You won't believe me until you go back home and the tanks roll over you and the boot crushes your genitals.
Yeah.
Then it's too late.
Yeah.
Only then will you believe. And so, and I paraphrased him, but that's essentially what he said. This is, and they're very, very good at that. They've been practicing it for decades, right? And of course, the arch enemy has been practicing it for longer than that, and that's the one that we're really concerned about,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And the only way that any society, group of people, or individual can even buy into this nonsense is if they are not anchored in the truth.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So
Which we've been taught is relative.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's
and
your
it's,
truth.
yeah,
It's your
right.
truth.
Which is that's what's gone on in all governmental education for at least 70 years that I'm aware of, and for longer than that. Truth is not relative. Truth is absolutely objective. There is an objective standard, but when you turn loose of that objective standard, then you can be sold anything.
Yep.
And more to the point, you'll be sold whatever makes you feel good in the moment.
Yeah.
I think.
Also, I just want to just jump in here. Eston, man, you can jump in, you can stay as long as this is like an in and out kind of thing. If you want to come in and out, this is just a free for all tonight. So if you need to go do something, even same with Clinton or anything you guys need to do, man, we're just I don't want you to feel like you got to stay in there or wait to a certain time to jump off or anything. Y'all just do what you need to do. We're gonna be on until at least for another couple hours, and so
until we see 300. Right,
exactly.
until we see 300 electoral college votes.
Right? Exactly. That's when we're going. Well, at least we'll call it in. But
then we'll sleep.
Yeah,
Then we'll sleep. Yes, yes, we shall sleep.
Also, just got a update from a buddy of mine who is went to the VMI, Virginia Military Institute, and they just did a government order. I'm not sure if it's just happened right now or just recently. Government order, they're removing the Stonewall Jackson monument out from the barracks of the Virginia Military Institute, and so by order of the governor, the crazy, weird, kill babies after they're born governor of Virginia.
Northrop, right? Northrop.
Yeah,
right?
and what his name is Northrop.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the guy with blackface, right?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
He's the blackface guy.
Okay, yeah.
He's the guy who has shown his cards to not be an American.
Oh,
Yeah.
He's not.
I got to go down to the lobby and get more coffee packs for my coffee machine. Otherwise, I won't make it. So
This
I'll be
is
right
the
back.
only
Don't
podcast
forget your mask.
YouTube in the world where that was just said.
Don't forget your mask.
All right, can I take this statue thing on for a moment? All right.
No, go ahead.
And I gotta go eat my supper.
All right,
Eston,
so
peace,
all
brother.
right, with the hop on when come back off.
I'll keep you guys on because I still want to listen to what y'all
Yeah.
are saying.
Don't forget your mask.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh
just
yeah,
hop-
because
just hop
my
off- hop
kitchen
off the
just
feed.
needs the mask.
That's okay. Just hop off the feed, and then when you get back, just hop on back on. You roll it through YouTube. If you want to.
He keeps pointing at us.
I know he keeps pointing. I'm like poking me in the face, man.
All right,
Yeah.
so sorry, you're gonna have to hang on with me for a moment on this ride, okay? All right, just you're gonna have to hang on with me. Yeah, because it's gonna take a moment to develop this. All right, so you got to stay with me. In order to kind of give you, just kind of my part in this. And my family came to Jamestown in 1621. It's literal, factual history. My family was integral to the founding of Virginia, the development of Virginia, and as they grew, you fast forward to the American Civil War. By the time you get there, my however many grandfathers was captured at Petersburg, served out part of the war in Maryland in a prison. Everybody on my side of the family were Confederate vets. I literally have pay stubs, like photocopies of pay stubs back here behind me, historical documents. Now that said, slavery is evil, period. There is no biblical basis. You cannot use the Bible, and I'm going to talk about this again later on, to rubber stamp and say it is okay to own another human being. There's so many verses that decry that. Okay, let's just establish that. But now let's look at these statues. A few things here. First off, the United States government saw fit to forgive every Confederate veteran. They were pardoned, and they were paid a pension by the United States government as veterans, as if they had fought and marched from Maine. So
I will push back on one thing on that. One thing.
Feel free.
I'm not on it. But I was looking into this. Robert E. Lee was never officially pardoned.
Well, he rejected it. Now, however,
I need to see that because I was in this conversation. I was like, oh, he got a pardon, and he never received a pardon. And even so, I'm like, so I need to find more facts on that. So we got facts on where he rejected it. Because I need that. I don't need a vague thing. I need some facts, man.
No, I'm telling you, I will take the time and I will find it and I will show it to you.
All right, sounds good.
Let me get to my point.
Go ahead.
Rather than tearing statues down, I think we should build a pantheon. Let's add other folks beside them. And this may not be popular, but let's throw Harriet Tubman up there.
Yeah.
Let's tell the whole flipping story for what it is.
Yep.
Let's tell the whole story.
Yeah.
And the reality is, when I taught history, every single year we put Columbus on trial. And I've actually got one of my former students who's been hopping on and off talking to me back via Facebook. All the years I taught, when we put Columbus on trial, we looked at the things that he did that were not right versus the quote good that came out of it. We let the group put him on trial. Out of all the years I taught, it was about 17 or so. only one group of kids found him guilty. Everybody else felt like the good that came out of what happened outweighed the bad. And this is kids that I didn't direct them. We presented the evidence and let them decide. History is more complicated than this guy's bad or this guy's good. I have actual letters from Abraham Lincoln in one of these books behind me called The Real Lincoln, right here, where he basically is, saying things that don't sound very racially sensitive.
I'm sure by COVID-21, his stuff will be removed too.
Probably, but history is simply more complicated than just this guy's bad or this guy's good. Ulysses S. Grant said, this is a rough paraphrase quote, "If I thought for one moment that this war were over freeing the black man, I would resign my commission and fight for the other side." So it's more complicated than tear this statue down or tear that statue down. It just is. Again, I feel like Harriet Tubman and other black heroes should be lifted up. I feel like the statue should be right beside them. Let's tell the whole story.
Well, I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
Berglund. Now,
I was just gonna say, like, to piggyback on that entire comment, that entire piece that you just threw out there. It's on purpose. This isn't about social justice. Tearing down it's nothing to do with social justice.
It's not gonna fix anything.
No, the point is to erase everything in the past. So,
well, my great granddaddy was half black.
Huh?
So my great granddaddy was half black. That is a biological fact.
I'm half black.
So we all have different ethnicities in us. I mean, it's all melanin.
Well, okay, so just give you an idea, right? So this whole Newspeak, this 1984 Newspeak kind of crazy stuff, and it's like, listen, like, you can't say rioting is bad. Black Lives Matter, Antifa, the riots, you can't say it's bad if you're white, because then you're a racist. And then you look at it, you're like, wait a second. And then they say, if you're white, then you're automatically a racist, or you're born a racist. Like, what are we talking about? So you're condemning me for something that you can't prove I own slave. I mean, I know enough about my ancestry that I 1000% believe none of my ancestors owned slaves, but I'm white, so I'm the problem. No, and then you say, well, the riots, whether they're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, if you're out rioting and burning and looting, you can't say that's bad. So there's like double speak, like new speak, new thought, all this crazy 1984 crazy stuff. And then you look at stuff like happening in California, where Gavin Newsom and the other leftists are trying to, and if I'm not mistaken, they've been successful in at least passing, and it'll probably get repealed, hopefully. But this legislation to tax white people for reparations, to pay black people for reparations. And you're like, wait a second, hold up. What? Wait, well, hold up. Time out.
Yeah.
Like, it has nothing to do with social justice. It's like this crazy Marxism, man. Like I think Carl brought up Karl Marx and how he was like a Satanist, right? Like he had, or Luciferian. Is that right?
Yeah, Luciferian, yeah.
Yeah. Oh no. I think Craig brought him up, but
Yeah.
Either way, this is 5%.
It's spiritual faith. It's spiritual fight. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I got news coming in from the other room, guys.
What you got?
Biden just got Arizona, is what the word is.
How did Biden win Arizona, man? Arizona.
John Correa.
What is up with y'all state, man?
If you are watching this, hop on and explain yourself. And John, let me correct one thing real quick to our conversation about Lee a while ago. His amnesty was signed, but he was not ever pardoned. That is how that went down.
So that's what I was saying. I was like, that makes me.
But I wasn't talking about one person. I was talking about the Confederate soldier as a whole group.
But they never.
Guy.
Yeah, they were. I want to know more about that, because the research I had seen, still listed and they couldn't get pensions and those kind of things. So I want to see more of that. I need to get some more research into that. So anybody that has that, a Civil War expert, anybody with a history book that I can't get into on like the YouTube searches and stuff and Google searches, please send me some information because I would like to see that.
Man,
And so since we're on the war, Anthony, there was something you said that I wanted to give a little bit of pushback on.
sure.
That as far as the tearing down of Confederate statues, one of the problems that I have with the arguments against the Confederacy is that the Bible never does condemn slavery per se. So, I mean, we actually currently have slaves right now. They're called convicts. They are completely at our mercy, and they do at whatever we say. And so that's, and there are a lot of nuances that can go into that. But anyway, the point that I want to drive to is that the only thing that made slavery really so bad in the South is that it rejected the biblical criteria for slavery. I mean, for one, man stealing. The Bible does condemn man stealing, and that's off the table, and that's actually punishable by death. And that's what made the slave trade in America so wicked, was that it was founded on man stealing. But even with man stealing, the Bible does allow for buying someone who has been stolen, which many Christians did do. Right, a believer can buy someone who has been kidnapped because, well, what else are you going to do? Right? It's the big guy with the gun. He bought the slave. He kidnapped them, so you buy them to free them. And we see this in the biblical pattern that the slave laws actually had their own self-elimination in them. There were different stipulations for different kinds of slaves. So if you had a Hebrew slave back in the Hebrew Republic, you could keep him until the year of Jubilee. Say if he was caught and you bought him after he was sold to you in battle, then you can keep him as a maximum until the year of Jubilee. And keeping in mind that it's a maximum, the longest you could keep a slave was if he was a heathen and remained a heathen. Right. So it was actually kind of a form of evangelism. And that's the other thing that made the slavery in the South quite wicked, was because it, like I said, it even the man stealing aside, which in itself, like I said, the Bible actually calls for death for those who steal other men. It was the ignoring all the other for many slave owners, all the other biblical principles of owning a slave that made it so wicked. And the other thing that really does get under my skin is when people, even validly bring up those points and say, yeah, slavery was very wicked. And then they say it was the greatest evil in America. Okay, number one, Planned Parenthood. Give me a break. Yeah. And second, just like I said, but the Bible never condemns slavery per se.
Yeah, well, so, and that's the thing is that it like with slavery in the Bible, it condemns it in the sense like there are condemnations. Like I said, there are those stipulations of like, okay, because this is a thing in the world, and the Bible never says to do this. Like there's no like go get slaves. It doesn't endorse it in that way, but it says, okay, because this is how the world works, and it still works this way. And so there are slaves, like that's my whole job. There's more, actually, people don't know, there's actually more slaves now than ever in history, right? And so the point of it is that it's not that it's how the world was working. So God said, all right, these are the people I'm coming in to condescend to. This is how you're gonna do it. If this is a thing in the world, this is how you do it in a godly, righteous manner, because this is a thing there. And that's the thing that is really interesting too, is that like you said, it hopefully would have worked its way out. Like it's in the context of the Hebrew framework.
Well, but the idea, like you hit on that, the key, bro. The context is always king. We would always, all of us would agree, context is king. The passages in the Bible, the slave codes, if you will, are not a rubber stamp of God's approval.
Yeah,
it's rather, as John said, just like polygamy, this is a thing, and this is the cultural context, this is what's happening, we need to lay down some guidelines for this. I don't, I see your point, Eston. I don't, obviously I don't think you think that slavery was ever
Well, no,
a
I
good
mean,
thing.
I would
but
say that even the slave code itself is supposed to show us that being a slave is not fun. It's not good. You're supposed to not want to be a slave, right? And so, yeah, what I'm saying, the point I'm trying to drive at is that the Bible never condemns a man who owns a slave. I mean, I would say that God does want you, hopefully, at some point, to free the slave.
it's hard to fit that in the framework of loving your neighbor as yourself.
Well, actually, I think it's quite easy. I mean, because so this happens quite a
There's
bit.
a lot of girls in Thailand who would disagree.
Yep, a Muslim captures me in battle. I would hope a Christian buys me. Right. So it's that kind of thing. That is how it would actually be loving your neighbor. So, because I would rather not be sold to a Muslim. And I think that was a pretty big factor in many Christians who did buy slaves in the South, is they knew that I can give him a good life and I can hopefully free him at some point, as opposed to my neighbor Jim, who I know treats his slaves horribly. So it was a way to actually.
I see what you're trying to get at, in the sense of that, but the crux of it is that because I think in owning a slave at all, and whether they're however they are, you are inevitably devaluing that person to property. You're devaluing that image, the God-bearing image that is made and got to own somebody. Now, to have an indentured servant, like with what Hebrew, like the Hebrew slave would be, is I sell myself to you, those kind of things, and even the ones that are sold in. I think that's where the crux kind of comes in, is that you can't, and I think it's what the government does doing, is my value is not given to me by the government, by money, by anything.
It's not given by man; it's given by God.
Exactly, God. And so to me, to own that as a person, or to use that as my property, is irreverent to the image bearer of God. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that is what the purpose of the slave code was. That if he was a Christian, and I think that really the part of the slave code was as a form of evangelism, that because the maximum kind of slavery you could have was keeping a heathen who remained a heathen for the rest of his life, right? So
to be fair, though, you're talking about
right. So I'm talking about,
we're talking about the American South.
I haven't finished my point yet.
That's not what those codes said.
I haven't finished my point yet. So so in that way, it's a form of evangelism. And so I think the point being that it's so that if you have a heathen, that's the maximum that kind of a slave that you can have, but he's not supposed to stay that way. He's supposed to be evangelized at some point. He's supposed to convert. And then when he converts, when he now becomes a believer, he then falls under the other stipulations of the slave laws. Again, so that you have to free him at some point, right? So, like I said, depending on the slavery.
That was even the rules in African slavery prior to the coming of the Portuguese. Even slavery as it existed in Africa, slaves could marry, they could own property. Yeah. There was a route to freedom. Carl, I know you're dying to say something, man. I can tell. So jump in.
No, actually, I just wanted to emphasize that point that Eston was making, right? Because the whole point, where Paul wrote about to Philemon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And about his slave, and he's like, basically the whole letter was so here's your slave. I'm telling him to go back to you, right? So Paul, the guy that wrote most of the New Testament, ordered the slave to go back to his master, and then told the master, and you need to remember that you have a master, right? Didn't tell him to run away, didn't hide him, didn't advise him to leave, right? Told him to go back, and said, and then told the master, and you need to check yourself, right? So so there, and I think all Eston's point was we make a really big deal about the evil of slavery, right, and try to lay that whole thing on America. Well, first of all, everybody.
Well, it's not. It's a world. It's a worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah. Well, and
the very word
everybody's
itself comes
ancestor-
from the Slavs, who were the most enslaved people in history.
That's you and me. And so, yeah, everybody's ancestor was a slave, and everybody's ancestor held slaves.
Yeah.
Every single one of us. There's not one of us walking on this planet that did not have an ancestor that was a slave and that did not have an ancestor that held slaves. All of us. So that's one of those nasty institutions from time immemorial, right? Ever since we figured out we could get somebody else to work for us for free, right? Because we're worse than horses like that.
I thought they called that parenting.
If you think having kids is free, you don't have kids yet. And you try to work them to get your money back, and all they do is eat more.
Exactly.
This is a losing proposition.
You're feeding them. That's your first problem.
Yeah, there you go. So, but the thing is that's the major problem, as Eston was pointing out, is that American Southern slavery was not explicitly not biblical slavery. And what happened was men got their heads twisted, and men, even Christian men, got their heads twisted, right? And messed the entire process up. If they had done it properly, slavery would have abolished itself, right? Because
and it even already kind of was.
Darn you, Eli Whitney, and your cotton gin, man.
Yeah, Well, and that's the
I
thing.
mean, it was going away anyway. We didn't have to kill
was.
600,000 Americans to make it go away. It was going away.
And that's the thing is, like, we go back to the whole point of the Civil War and all this thing. The point of the Civil War necessarily, I mean, the fixation point was around the issue of slavery, but the real reason was not about necessarily slavery. It's about the states' rights and those, and the federal government imposing its thing on the whole thing, and those separation of states and those kind of things.
As far as states' rights. Sorry.
No, say the point of it was that we need to be autonomous. We are autonomous. And that's why even like Robert E. Lee was like, look, I ain't fighting for the South. I'm fighting for Virginia. That's the kind of the idea of it. He does it in that idea that the North was this, amazing, just, valiant, coming in on this side to do this, was not the true truth of it. Now, there was some that did fight, that did believe that this was about that and was fighting. And a lot of Southerners weren't fighting for slavery. They didn't own slaves. They were like, well, why you keep fighting this war? Because you down here. That's why you're fighting. It's not about, they don't, if it's about slaves, there's actually a great Ken Burns documentary on the
amazing
that talks about, they said if this is about slaves, the South was saying, if I'm fighting for slaves, and he uses another word for that, then I'm not fighting for that. I'm fighting for my state. I'm fighting for my basically autonomy as a state.
It's important to note too that the Emancipation Proclamation only freed slaves in the South, in states that were in
North still had their slaves.
rebellion.
Yeah. And even exempted some counties in the South.
That's exactly right. Who were?
So I want to draw kind of a modern
north.
I want to draw a modern corollary to this. If we have when this next war comes about, right? That's not an if, it's when, because it always happens. It's going to happen, whether it happens in our lifetime or my grandkids' lifetime, right? It's going to happen. Abortion is going to be an issue in the war.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it may not be the cause of the war. And at the end of it, right, if the abortion abolitionists win, which I suppose they probably will, right, they're going to write a history that says abortion was the cause of the war.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not going to be the truth. It's definitely going to be a component. Yeah. But it will not have been the cause, because there's a whole lot of other stuff that goes along with that as well. And it's very, very difficult for us to be sitting here in 2020, looking down the barrel of 2021, right, and knowing that chattel slavery particularly as it evolved and became a race-based type slavery, right, which it did, is ridiculous, stupid, evil, and wrong, right? Especially when you go back all the way to the beginning and you realize that every single human being walking in a skin bag on the planet Earth is only the more distantly related he is to any other human being walking in a skin bag on planet Earth is 50th cousin. So we're all the same family, right? And if we're going to go kidnapping and stealing our own family members and holding them in bondage, we got something wrong with our head.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the end of that story as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that Lincoln's War was about slavery, because it wasn't, right? And
sectionalism it's interesting. Sectionalism is as much a part of that.
Clinton started drinking.
And it's because it's interesting. A lot of what we're seeing today would be characterized as sectionalism, them versus us, that there's a disconnect between, quote, red states and blue states. And even though they weren't called that back then, that's exactly what you have. And to Eston's point a while ago, you're 100% right about Planned Parenthood. I'm just going to say it out and out. We're not going to apologize for it. There's no more racist organization on the planet than Planned Parenthood. Where are most of their, quote, clinics? They are in predominantly Black neighborhoods. Go read the writings of the founder of these, or exactly, and the straight up racist things that were said. So 100%, Eston, I agree with you, man. There's that's the greatest evil, is the sacrifice of children.
Clinton, so jump in there, man. So you wanted to use,
I was just gonna say, it was in conjunction with what you were saying, Margaret Sanger. I mean, it's so, man, it hurts, man, because I have quite a few friends that, and being in the military, and all these different walks of life that I've experienced, and I have a lot of friends that are Black, and it's just so terrible, the amount of like deception and lies and like disgusting behavior that's been portrayed on the Black community. Like, Margaret Sanger and the establishment of the Planned Parenthood and how it was built on child sacrifice. They wanted to destroy the Black community. And she said it in her own words. Like, there's nothing taken out of context. There's no way to take that out of context. In New York City, you're actually like more likely to get an abortion than actually have a child. Like 55% of women that get pregnant get an abortion versus actually having a child. And then you have Lyndon B. Johnson, which him and others behind him created the social welfare state that decimated Black and other minority communities. It's just so disgusting. And then they're taught through the social conditioning, right? Through celebrities, through the mainstream media, all these different avenues, sports, that they got to vote Democrat. The Democrats have their best interests at heart, when it's the Democrat Party that continues to perpetuate all this damage to the Black community, to the other minority, and even to the white community. I mean, anyone who's not an elitist, a globalist, essentially. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just rough. I'd have a lot of friends in LA, and then the groupthink is so thick that they're like, I gotta vote for Joe Biden because I heard it from a celebrity, because celebrities care about me. And then, wait, but I don't care if Joe Biden said, it's I don't know, man. Yeah. It's frustrating,
That's one of the things that amazes me the most about
hold on before we jump in there. So we wanted to give an update so far. Associated Press has gotten it on, has not called Florida yet. In that it's 209 to 118 Biden. But they did call California, Oregon, and Washington. They haven't called Arizona yet. They called New Mexico and Colorado, and they haven't called Minnesota yet.
California and Oregon went for Biden.
I know, shocking.
Isn't that shocking?
But they've called. So somebody said Virginia went to Trump. Who is saying that Virginia is still on for Biden? Anybody got?
I've seen it. I've seen both reports. I see right now about the North Carolina. By the way, Trump is looking like we're going to go red.
They just called Ohio for Trump.
Yeah,
Ohio for Trump. All right, cool.
I saw it like at the beginning, like they gave Virginia, but they only counted like 1% of the votes, and they gave it to Biden immediately. But I'm seeing the group messages that I'm in, like it looks like Virginia is definitely going Trump, and it also looks like Florida also was given to Trump. And Arizona was called early. And then there's some mixed chatter on here. They're missing 2/3 of the votes. And they gave it to Arizona, gave Arizona to Biden, but they only have 1/3 of the votes.
How can they do that?
Yeah,
It's all informational warfare. That's all this is. It's to get people all flustered, because either way, Trump's gonna win, and then you're gonna have all this violence pouring out because people are mad, they're confused, they're frustrated, all this crap. Yeah. And Fox is no good, man. Fox for a long time has been right, Republican leaning, but it's looking Fox is pulling the trigger quick on a lot of these calls, like Virginia, like Arizona, and a couple other examples but
interesting.
I'm actually starting to lean into OAN and Newsmax, man, because I like OAN and I like Newsmax. I think I get a lot better reporting, and of course then I go over, quite frankly, Sky News in the UK, right, which is Fox News' sister network, is more accurate than Fox News is here. So you got to go across the pond to get anything real about American news. Is kind of ridiculous.
That's sad.
Yeah. I get mine from Kenneth Copeland's presidential walk. No matter.
Well, I mean, you got like example, like Donna Brazil. She should be tried. I mean, Donna, I think what was it? Voter fraud, right? It was voter fraud. I think also, as well as giving the questions for the debate.
She was giving. She admitted it.
And that's not an easy slap on the wrist. That's actually, if I'm not mistaken, that is at least a misdemeanor, if not a felony. And then Fox News hires her. Are you kidding me? What the heck?
It's interesting.
So I'm hearing a lot of things like that, with Biden's son Hunter and that, like you said, and it just blows my mind how nothing's done. Nothing's done about it, or the fact that more people can't recognize or see that because they're watching the wrong news or whatnot, being fed.
Well, it's what is it? I think if I'm not mistaken, the terminology is expert fallacy, right? So like they have a tie, they're in front of a camera. We want to believe they're telling us the truth, so we trust them. But a lot of these reporters are basically extensions of originally was established as the CIA's Mockingbird Media.
Oh yeah, Mockingbird operations.
Mockingbird,
tinfoil hat. That's what we're coming.
Tinfoil hat, man. That Operation Paperclip, Operation Mockingbird. The CIA established the mainstream media based on the Nazi propaganda machine. And then we have the Chinese propaganda machine infused in the last like 3 decades plus. So it's and people want to trust the media. They don't want to believe they're being lied to, but these people are terrible. Like actual crimes. Like, I mean, it should be protected under journalistic, whatever protection laws there are. But like when they unmasked Michael Flynn's name and they leaked that to the press, every reporter that got that, they committed a felony by receiving that.
Yeah.
That was a felony.
Yeah, it's crazy.
If you did that in the military, bro, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. Oh, half the stuff
you'd be breaking rocks in Leavenworth at least for the rest of your life.
I mean, freaking just on what Clinton did. Like I literally had a buddy, right?
Not me.
A guy in the Clinton Hillary, not Clinton Harris. I had a buddy. He was in the intelligence community with me. Took some classified material unknowingly. And not even like the actual documents, but something he had written down, some information, his notes he was taking, took it out of the secure area back to his barracks, had it there, got found out about it. Like somebody found out about it, like, hey, I think there's some stuff in there. Got it, man. He lost his clearance. He almost went to prison, like all kind of stuff just for an honest mistake. Yeah. Right. And then Clinton, like,
and it was probably minor. It was probably
it was like
something so insignificant.
Yeah.
But technically was on there.
Yeah. But
not national.
Yeah, but not national security kind of stuff. And so, like, I mean, that's just for one little dude for one thing. Clinton should be under the prison for the amount of secret information she's allowed to leak out and handled handled bad.
But we can't find her emails.
No,
yeah, exactly.
No,
they don't exist, so we can't. Like,
no, there's some heavy speculation that's why Seth Rich was shot in the back twice, is that he was passing all of that.
That's the worst case of suicide I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, they claimed it was a suicide.
Arm Seth.
Yeah.
Freaking man, what a dude! What?
I just had to reach back and
I got a puncture my lung through the
Dude,
back.
that's so messed up, man. Like he literally just got married, I believe, and if I'm not mistaken, they had a baby on the way, and he saw some crazy stuff, right? He was working with the DNC under Hillary Clinton and her campaign, collected all that, and passed it. And then they found out, shot him twice. But, you know, I'm paraphrasing a lot of this stuff, but
yeah,
man, what a
it's interesting.
Man,
It's
what a mess, dude. How disgusting.
Just see you wanted to say something.
Who, me?
Yes, I thought you were.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
No, I'm all into it.
we all
I do want to ask, what was it earlier I was going to say? Well, all these people going back to talking about the statues, all those people that are having a fit and wanting them to come down, do they not realize we have more slaves now? And where are those people that are fighting against statues? Can we get them to start coming and fighting against sex slavery or
someone get you a microphone so you can drop
I'm sorry, my personal.
You're right.
the microphone right there.
What is taking down statues going to change versus saving some of these girls and giving them home and loving them, or boys and girls that are?
Well, see, it's very simple. That does not fit the narrative.
Yeah.
And that will not drive us towards being a socialist country.
Yeah.
And to their mind, that doesn't happen here.
That doesn't make the right people money.
Yeah, that's where
It doesn't make the right people money.
actually making the right people money on the
Exactly.
opposite side.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
that's it.
Opposite
it's
Yeah,
actually really scary with how big this sex trafficking thing has been in very high class places. All right, just the whole Epstein falling down, and with names that seem to be very strongly connected to him.
And it's been that way for so
Yeah, when was the last time you heard?
long.
When was the last time you heard about Epstein or Maxwell?
Mhm.
By the way,
A long time.
Where is she, by the way?
Yeah.
right. Where is she? Hunter's laptop is all of a sudden more important than all the stuff that Ghislaine Maxwell is supposed to have.
Well, it's not even important enough for people to report on it.
Yeah.
Only one network really reports on it.
Well, and
Everybody else refers to
basically
it as
only one guy,
Russian.
Tucker Carlson.
Right. Everyone else refers to it as Russian disinformation because they photoshopped Hunter doing crack.
One thing to point out though is the DNI, John Radcliffe, he came out and said this is not Russian disinformation.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not. And then the people, Joe Biden and others are like, no, we had the 800 former intelligence people. No, you mean probably like 50 who were corrupt as shit. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
And were booted out.
We don't have an edit button on this in Clinton. I can't
Beep.
There you go. Beep.
He said ship.
As ship.
As in
They're corrupt
boats.
as ship.
Really corrupt boats.
See,
they were all fired.
Hold on for it.
I need a telegram beeper.
Exactly. just for my my fundamental Baptist people who are listening.
Both of you.
Paul used that word in Philippians.
Come on.
So,
Oh my goodness, you're gonna bring up
we doing
gender
theological backflips.
just want to let you know. So Paul used that word. So just in case Clinton was just being biblical. That's all. So keep going.
Hey, extend grace to me, just like I would extend grace to you, man.
Exactly.
You know,
That's right.
No, it's ridiculous, but it's like I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. Ghislaine Maxwell, you brought up Epstein, so it's crazy because people are like, well, didn't Trump know Epstein? Well, Trump also went to the FBI willingly to give information on Epstein. He also kicked him out of the Mar-a-Lago for life.
Yeah, I mean, as far as
Texas.
I know, I mean, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, anybody, but as far as I know, Trump is not on any of the catalogs for going to Epstein's Island.
Yep.
But
He took one. Yeah, he took one flight, and it was from Florida to, I believe, New Jersey. So,
He just
but
took
I mean,
Texas.
huh?
Trump just took Texas.
Took Texas.
Of course he did.
Texas up, baby.
But you know
Texas
what?
up.
With Epstein, like he was caught under the Obama administration, and he was sentenced to jail, and he could leave the jail 6 days out of 7 days a week. What is that? That's not jail.
It's like what's
It's like
the
Pablo
drunk guy?
Escobar, baby.
What's the drunk guy in Andy Griffith's show that would just had the keys? He'd get himself in that Otis. Like Otis is going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
you know. And then Ghislaine Maxwell, we brought up Ghislaine or Ghislaine, whatever, I don't care. But they knew who she was for 24 years. Let's do the math.
Yeah.
You have Bill Clinton, you have Bush Jr., and then you have Obama. That's 24 years right there.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew who she was. The DOJ admitted they knew who she was, what she was doing for 24 years. Boom.
Wow.
And then you have all these, you know, you have the U.S. Marshals, you have DHS catching like 179 kids were rescued this weekend, 35. So it's interesting, you know. I believe that she's singing, she's giving information, and you know, the last like 2 months, what we've probably seen upwards of 1,500 kids rescued across the country between 4 or 5 different agencies that the media touches a little bit, but then they like brush it under the rug and like, oh no, we talked about that yesterday. But I don't know, Hunter Biden, I think there's speculation that he did that on purpose. He gave up his laptop on purpose, as well as 2 other laptops, 2 others. And Director Wray and the FBI have been sitting on this one that's in question for over a year. There's also I'm in a group message, and these guys are posting stuff coming from out of China, like this group that is fighting the communists. The communists. They're trying to overthrow the communist government in China right now. Yeah. And so they're releasing documents, emails, photos, videos from the Hunter Biden hard drives that they have. These people that live in China, apparently, they have 3 hard drives. It's not just the Biden family, it's the Obama family, it's the Clinton family, it's the Bush family, a lot of terrible things. And they're just releasing video footage. And I'm like, whoa. I don't know if I want to see all this. But I don't know. We'll see. A lot of bad things.
Yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
Gang, I know you guys are going to keep this going, but my time constraints mean that I'm going to have to step out. But I do want to
keep it going, man. We'll keep it
They're
going.
going to keep it going. And I'll check back. I may pop back in with you guys in a little bit. I may actually pop back in from the bed. I don't know. I'll be like,
make sure you got clothes on.
Be like Yoko and what's his name. But I do want to read some thoughts to you guys before I go. And they're not the most eloquent, just some things kind of came to my mind today. But I just want to read this to you before I go. I believe that the United States of America is the greatest nation God has ever ordained, save perhaps his chosen people, Israel. I believe our nation is great, not because she's perfect, but due to this truth that God has guided us through our rebellious moments, checked us at every turn, punished us when needed. And by the way, that's what should terrify us right now. And raised us up to be his hand, as he did in both World War I and World War II, as we came to the aid of our European parents. I still believe that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I believe that equality and freedom itself is not provided for or ordained by the government. It is ordained by the Creator himself, and the government exists to protect it. Therein lies the heart of the struggle we now face as a nation. We are reaping the poison fruit that grows from the tree of secular humanism, this belief that we do not need God. This tree has grown unchecked in the Garden of Freedom with its Marxist leaves, and it threatens all that we hold dear. Grabbing onto areas where our nation has struggled, the socialist agenda woos our populace like one of Penelope's suitors from the Iliad and the Odyssey, attempting to convince us that our true mate freedom has forsaken us, even cheated us. Yes, in times past, some used the scriptures as a rubber stamp for their own sins. An honest study of scripture that will reveal that there's, and my brother Carl alluded to this a while ago, there's but one race, the human race. And in Christ, all men are equal. My heart is to see a nation where men, women, children of every ethnic background are seen in their diversity as beautiful reflections of their Creator, who he loves to reveal himself in, but through our differences calls us back to unity in himself. And that's the piece that people miss in this. If we're going to be a truly united nation, it's going to have to be in Christ. Yes, some of our brothers do struggle, and it's our duty to be a comfort and an aid, but not be mandated by an overreaching government, whether that government be led by a Democrat or a Republican. There are cries for our nation to leave its roots and follow this path of socialism. Perhaps those who crave that won't be so bold as to use the word, but their actions make it clear that what their end game is. It seems so innocent, that word socialism. Yet the reality is our nation cannot sustain its bloated programs and our small businesses cannot survive it. How did we even get to a point where socialism was so appealing to so many? To my brothers and sisters in Christ, I'm unsure that you're prepared for the answer. Again, it's only my opinion, but as I look at the church landscape in America, I would say much of it's our fault. It's our fault. God ordained in the Old and New Testament both that we were to look to those in need. It was him who set forth the principle of gleaning, allowing the hungry to come and pick from the field. It was he, through his Christ, who told us to love our neighbor, to love the Lord our God and our neighbors ourselves, care for widows, care for orphans, be a father to the fatherless. While much has been done by the church, I fear that we've done just enough to placate our own sense of guilt rather than attack root issues. There are those who feel our nation is broken beyond repair. I say to them, we're not broken enough. We're not broken enough yet because the whole of Christendom has not yet hit our knees and cried out to God for forgiveness on how we failed to carry out our most basic mission to its fullest. Anything less than full obedience is disobedience, and the fruit from that tree, we now know, is more bitter than any of us can stand. But there is a way forward, and these are just some thoughts. How do we go forward as a nation from a Christian perspective? I believe, number one, the church, God's people, have to repent. We have to repent and recognize that he was serious when he gave us our mission. He was serious. And two, the church must lead the way in this area of so-called racial reconciliation. We must. It's got to be us. We will not fall in line with critical race theory or systemic racism. The ill we face is actually more simple than that and more deeply embedded. More than systemic racism, our nation has a problem called systemic sin. Our fallen nature touches everything we build, and when discrimination rears its head, it is the root of sin that is the issue. So we who name the name of Jesus must reach out. Don't wait for somebody to come to you. Be the bridge yourself. 3, and we talked about this a while ago, we need to stop apologizing for the past. I know that sounds easy for a guy like me to say, but I need us to understand, when we talked about this a while ago, a marriage cannot hope to endure reliving past hurts again and again and again. Acknowledge the past and then forgive it and move forward. We must unwaveringly defend the Constitution of the United States, giving special attention to the First and Second Amendments. Says our ability to protect the others hinges on those pillars of freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. We must protect all life, unborn, born, those with special challenges, the elderly. We must unequivocally protect life. We must recognize that the United States is not perfect, nor will she ever be, because after all, it's governed by fallible men and fallible women. However, we must work like the outcome depends on us to make it a more perfect union, and pray like we know only God can heal our nation. We must get off the bench. And this is important, gang. We got to get off the bench and get into the game. It's one thing to sit here and talk about this stuff. Chrissy alluded to this, but it's another to do something. Now, public office is a privilege, not the right of a select group who have the money, power, and last name to achieve office. Anyone can run and win. We cannot allow this oligarchical, inbred system of politics to prevail. We need good men and good women of all ethnicities who will work for the common good of all, not just a select few. Our bodies of government should look more like the people they supposedly govern. Additionally, we must hold our elected officials accountable when they do not act in the best interest of the people. I still believe in the power of the vote, personally. I still believe in the power of the vote. And we need to elect officials who will protect our ability to create and grow and give wings to our ingenuity. We need to see each other as neighbors and friends, not Democrats, Republicans, Libertarian, but Americans. We need to, I used to tell my kids, and that when I talk, we got to learn again how to disagree without being disagreeable. quite frankly, those who would desire a war, and I don't think anybody in this group does, have either never fought in one or never studied them. Finally, we must stand against anyone who would see our system pulled down and destroyed, regardless of their leanings, whether they be right or left. The destruction of our businesses, our way of life, cannot be tolerated. These are just a few humble opinions of a flawed, very flawed American to other flawed Americans. I think this is the way forward. But that's just my thoughts, guys. You can chat about that. I think we lost John. So I guess Carl, you'll have the room for the moment. So that could be good. So those are just a few thoughts, guys, from the Guy Stuff crew. I'm signing off for the night. Our friends that we invited on to hang out with us are still going to be here for a while. John will probably be back. I'll probably pop back in. But guys, regardless of where we fall out on the side of the issues, we need to be praying for our nation, and we need to pray. John just messaged me and told me he had a blackout, so he is in Thailand. So I tell you what, guys, based on that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap us, and do pray. I believe God can still move, is still moving. He never stops moving, and I trust him regardless of what happens, regardless of whether Trump wins or Biden wins or that Joe lady just comes from nowhere and wins, right? Tomorrow morning, Jesus is still going to be on the throne.
That's right. Jesus is still king no matter who's president, and our job never changes.
That's right. Our job never changes, guys. So God bless you. Thank you guys for hanging out with us for so long. Eston, I appreciate what you're doing. It's encouraging, man, to hear a guy as young as you, as articulate as you. I pray you will run for office or something, because I'm excited about what God's doing in you. Clinton, thank you as always, man. And Carl, for being bold, for the boldness that you bring to the table. Carl's a guy that I want in my corner always. But thank you for hanging out with us on the Guy Stuff podcast, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.